when I think of the Republican Party, I do not think of the love of Jesus. And therefore, I don't want to say the words that I'm a hard right-leaning person or ultra-conservative, because to me, now I want to align myself with the ethic of Jesus and how you treat people and how you talk about people. Although I end up voting right often, my heart is like, I don't want to associate myself with something that isn't of the Jesus ethic, and that is primarily to love my neighbor as myself.
Right.
So Elisha's Bones had already started, and I remember one day someone said, "Hey man, have you heard this song yet?" And he handed me this cassette of Nevermind. Nirvana's Nevermind.
Right.
And I listened to Smells Like Teen Spirit for the first time. And like, the story's been retold so many times by so many people. I was absolutely floored.
Right.
I'd never heard anything like that in my life, and it changed my life forever.
Yep.
Changed my life forever. I was just like, what's happening with this song is everything that my soul wants to do with music. I was this knucklehead youth pastor, didn't know what he was doing, and the pastor was pretty mad at me. He was frustrated because the youth group wasn't growing. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
The youth group was shrinking, actually. And one day, this girl came to the youth group that had blue hair, and she gave her life to Jesus. Right. And the next day, the pastor pulled me into his office and said, "Hey, look, I heard that girl with blue hair gave her life to Jesus last night. And what are you doing?" I'm not kidding. He said these words. "What are you doing reaching out to the scum of the earth?" And then years later, when I found out that he had Parkinson's, I cried healthy, mournful tears. And then when I found out that he died, I cried like such beautiful, mournful, grieving tears. And I was so happy that he was in heaven. And I was so happy that one day I would meet him there and that we would be able to embrace with like pure love and nothing in between us whatsoever. And that was one of the most important moments of my entire life.
Hello. You have found yourself in the presence of another awe-inspiring, life-changing episode of the only podcast that still only has one written review on Apple, the Why Can't We Talk About That podcast. Thanks for being here. It really means a lot to me. As you listen to this episode, and your mind fills with all of these questions and comments, you will be wishing that you had a way to share those questions and comments with me. Well, guess what? You can share them with me by emailing me at whycan'twetalkaboutthat@proton.me. Or maybe as you listen to this episode, you may be thinking to yourself, I think that maybe I would really like to be on this show. I wonder if that could ever become a reality. Well, guess what again? We can probably make that happen. The first step in that process would be for you to send me an email at whycan'twetalkaboutthat@proton.me. And lastly, as you listen to this episode, you just might be thinking to yourself, you know what? This just might be the greatest podcast I've ever heard in my entire life. I wish that I could let everyone know about it. Well, again, I have great news for you. You can let everyone know about it, and I strongly encourage you to do so. Thanks. Now for today's episode. My guest this week is Luke Haynes, a 5'6", 51-year-old married man with 5 children, 1 grandchild, and 1 spiritual grandchild. Luke spends his days coming alongside people to help them navigate their crisis crossroads in a way that leads them to Jesus. I have known Luke for quite a few years at this point, and this episode was a long time in the making. Towards the beginning of the discussion, you will hear Luke say that he likes to drink matcha. You might be tempted to switch to a different podcast at that point, but please don't. I promise you that even though he does enjoy matcha, he still had some really great things to say. Enjoy the conversation.
What's up, my brother?
What's up, dude?
Good to see you, man.
You too. Well, you sound crisp and clear. You must have a good mic.
I evidently do.
All right, man. Right. What kind of tea you got going on there?
Matcha.
Ugh.
No, not a matcha fan, huh?
I it's not even that I'm not a matcha fan. I'm so bad that I don't believe anybody's a matcha fan. I think everybody's lying to themselves because there's no way that somebody drinks that and says, "Ooh, that's just great." Like if they're
Yeah.
drinking it maybe for health benefits, I get it, but it's just I mean, it tastes like what it smells like when I mow my lawn. That's what it tastes like.
Don't
Like
you like that?
no, I mean I like the smell. I like the smell of it, but not the.
Not the
And my
taste.
daughters do. My daughters have tried. They all love it, and they've tried to
Yeah.
get me on it. And they're like, "Oh no, Dad, you got to try this kind. You got to put, you
Yeah.
got to put this in there and this." And they've tried it a bunch of different ways. I'm like, you got to make it not taste like lawn clippings, and we'll be okay. And that's the trick.
That's great.
But hey, if you like it, more power to you. I guess
Thanks.
someone's got to drink it. I guess, but
Someone does.
yeah. So how's it going, man?
It's going good. It's going really
Awesome.
good. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
I'm really
Yeah.
glad that I get to be a part of this.
Yeah, me too, man. I was actually kind of a little surprised when you were like, "Yeah, I can do it now." I was like, "Shut
Yeah.
up," because I kind of sent that to you as just like I'll just throw it out there and see what he says.
Yeah.
I know it's been a while since I've asked him, um, so where you at now, man? It looks pretty nice in the back there. You got some
Yeah. Yeah.
nature.
Since you and I used to talk regularly, I have
Hmm.
moved to a location that is just a mile from my house. In
Okay.
this a house in Philida. That's the neighborhood we live in. A house in Philida that got turned into office space.
Okay.
And a lot of times I just walk to work. It's really great.
So this is like your counseling center that's
Yeah,
right
yeah.
within walking distance of your
Yep.
house,
Yep.
dude.
Yeah, it's great.
Nice.
Yeah. So I literally just got off of a counseling call and then jumped
Okay.
on. So yeah.
Nice, dude. Well, I'm glad that worked out. Are you done for the rest of the day? You don't have any more
I
calls?
am. Yeah, I
Good.
am. And the goal is to eventually not do any appointments on Fridays.
Okay.
Financially, that's not feasible right now, but
Right.
I'm trying to work things around. I bumped up my rates, which I hate doing. But my wife was like, "You for your own mental health, that whole idea
Sure.
of you're not going to be good for anybody,
Yeah.
especially me,
Right.
if
Right.
you keep going the way you are."
Yeah.
So anyhow, I try to only do one or two, maybe three appointments on Fridays. Today I only
Okay.
have one.
Okay.
So, and
About how
that's the
many are
reason
you looking
why
at
I, what's
total?
that?
Like how many a week do you do total right now? Are you
I used to do 27 to 30 a week. I now am down to, let's see, around 20.
wow, man, that's a lot.
Yeah. And I don't want to do that many, but it is what it
Yeah.
is. You got to
Right.
pay the bills.
Well, but that's got to be pretty taxing. I mean, I mean, emotionally for you, I'm sure to
Yeah.
to be dealing with people's personal lives so often.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's
It
all right. I wouldn't want to be doing that as often.
is.
That's nuts. Um, very cool, man. So are you still up in Washington or did you guys move out of the state?
No, no, we're still in Vancouver, Washington.
Oh, you're still close then. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
To where you were before. Not too far.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't
Yep.
know why I was thinking I thought you had said you moved kind of farther away, but maybe
Mm.
I'm mistaken. Mhm.
Maybe the last time you and I saw each other in person,
Okay.
I might have said something about that because that time we were contemplating moving out of state, but
Hmm.
nothing ever like we
Yeah.
never got any momentum on that at
Yeah.
all.
We've been contemplating it for about 30 years now. So, but we're in California, so we have a lot more reasons to move than you do. So,
How are you doing?
doing good, man. I mean, it's just,
Good.
same old ups and downs. Family life is kind of chaotic. Our oldest, the one who's married, I don't know if you've ever met our oldest, but she's due in December.
Oh,
So we're
dude,
gonna
that's
be,
awesome.
yeah, grandparents for the first time. So that's kind of fun. So
Right on.
yeah, so we're looking forward to that. Other than that, yeah, I'm still just working at the library. I'm doing delivering pizzas a couple nights a week for extra money, and then doing one of these a week. And that's so
Nice.
I had to cut back. You're talking about cutting back on like I was doing more than one of these a week, and it was just
Oh,
killing me.
wow.
Not
Wow.
because of this part. This is the fun, easy
Yeah,
part. This is
the
the part I
editing.
really enjoy. Yeah, the editing, all that, all the stuff that goes into it later. I'm like, I can't even, plus a lot of it wasn't relevant. By the time I would be releasing episodes, it'd be
Oh,
like months later,
that's
and people are like, why are you talking about how Biden is running against Trump? When we already know, right, that Kamala is in place to run against
yeah.
Trump. I was like, because I recorded that like 2 months ago. That's why. So I kind of made a decision to say, okay, I'm going to record one a week, and I'm going to try to release it within 2 to 3 days of recording.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
I've kind of been recording on Friday, Saturdays, or Sundays, any of those days, and then I have the episode out by Wednesday.
Nice. Good
So
job.
that's kind of the way it's been going, and it's a lot less stressful. It's a lot more current, up to date as far as what's going on in the world when we're kind of in the political realm and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, having a good time, man. Yeah, so the kids are all getting older. Our youngest is now 15, going on 16, and he's like 6'5". So
Dang.
it's just gnarly,
For
dude.
real, 6'5"?
He really is 6'5". Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's
he's a
wild.
monster. He's outgrown all of his siblings. Just not. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Like Aiden, who is like he's like 6'1". He's already tall,
Yeah.
but Asher stands next to Aiden, and Aiden looks like a midget. So it's just like it's just pretty funny. Yeah, so doing that, yeah, that's pretty much my life, dude. And other than that, trying to stay busy with extracurricular, stuff. Well, I said trying to stay busy. Bethany keeps me busy with
Yeah.
extracurricular stuff. We got a cruise coming up in
Hey,
November. Yeah, for our first one. It's
excellent.
actually for Danny's 50th birthday.
Oh, very cool.
So it's just going to be three couples going, no kids. So it's just going to be a total adults thing
Dude,
to
that's awesome.
Mexico. So yeah, first time on a cruise, first time out of the country for me. So it's going to be
Oh, and I'm so stoked
pretty
for you.
fun. Yeah, I hope. I have this like major fear of water. So
Uh,
because I can't
yeah,
swim and I'm like I don't like water and
yeah.
so I mean, but you're on a floating hotel, so I mean you should be. It's not like we're going on a little canoe or something, so because that's not going to happen. But
Let's
yeah, so let's jump. Do you want to jump into some music? Let's get going with that. What do you think?
do it.
All right, man. So I know that you're musical because I know you even play music, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, because there was a time when I don't remember how this happened, but like Danny was talking about something, or maybe it was at a church service where you were preaching, and you mentioned something about a band you were in
Oh,
back
yeah.
in the
Elisha's
day.
Bones, probably.
What was it called?
Elisha's Bones.
Elijah's Bones. Elisha?
Elisha's Bones. Yeah,
Okay, that's awesome. That sounds like a metal band.
yeah. It was an alternative band.
Okay. And what
Yeah.
year was that, would you say? That was like,
That was 92, 91, 92.
oh, right in the grunge
Yeah,
explosion, man.
exactly.
Perfect. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a
Okay.
beautiful, beautiful time.
Nice,
And
man.
we had no idea that we were in such a special moment.
Yeah. Did you
Uh,
guys record anything?
yeah, you can go to Bandcamp and find us.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I
I'm
mean,
totally doing that.
it's not good, but it's so
But
good.
everybody says that, man.
Yeah,
Everybody
exactly.
says that.
Exactly.
Grammy award-winning artists say, "Oh, I can't even listen to that anymore. That's terrible. That sucks." And we're like, "That's the best-selling album of all time." And you're calling it
Right.
crap, Yeah. Like Paul McCartney's like, "Oh, I can't even listen to Sergeant Pepper anymore. It's so terrible." It's like, what, dude? It's the number one album ever.
Does he really say that? I didn't know that.
I don't know. I'm just
Okay.
making that. He might not, but I've heard other people that obviously have double platinum selling albums where they're just like, oh, I can't even listen. That's trash. They call it trash, and I'm like, dude, that's like the best thing ever. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out. So how old were you when you were doing that band?
I was a junior and senior in high school.
Okay.
Um, they continued when I left for college for
Hmm.
another year and
Okay.
kept doing shows. And I don't think they recorded though. But they definitely got better after I left.
Okay.
I remember hearing them when I came home for Christmas or something like that, my freshman year, and like, dang, they've gotten better.
Yeah.
But man, we were having so much fun. And
Yeah.
those were the days where like you put together a band, you told everyone you would make flyers. Obviously this is before we had our laptops and our smartphones and
Oh,
everything
for
for
sure.
social
Yeah.
media. So we would make flyers with Sharpie and like artsy it up, make
Hmm.
photocopies and hand it out at school. And then people would show up, a couple hundred people, well, a couple dozen to a couple hundred would show up. And then you'd have these other bands that you knew, because you knew people at school or
Yeah.
church or whatever and so you'd put together like 4 or 5 bands from the local area and you'd do a show together and you all try to get, if you all got a couple dozen people to show up,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was
That's awesome.
so much fun.
That's so cool. Did you guys kind of develop a little following? Like, did you have some like,
Yeah, we
major
had a
fans?
tiny following
Okay.
and they were mostly middle school girls.
Of course. Of course. Oh man. What did you do in that band? What did you?
I was lead guitar. I was rhythm guitar, lead guitar. I did some songwriting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it, right? Yes.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
It was like a four-piece. You had like a bassist, a guitar player,
My
drummer, and a singer.
brother played, there was 5 of us.
Okay.
So my friend Ben was rhythm guitar primarily. I was lead guitar primarily. My brother was the bassist. My
Hmm.
friend Dave. Do you know Bethany Lee? She used to be Bethany Langdon.
Oh, the pastor at
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Daniel's friend? Yeah.
Her
Mhm.
oldest brother, Dave
Okay.
Langdon was the drummer.
Okay.
And then female Erin was lead singer.
You had a girl singer?
We had a girl singer. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. And Erin was fantastic. Um, she wrote the vast majority of the lyrics and she was kind of like the mother of the band,
Okay.
where the rest of us were just like screwing around. And she was too, but she
Yeah.
kind of kept us in order and
Was
all
she
that.
older than you guys, or were you guys all about the
No,
same age?
we were all about the same age. I think
Okay.
I was the oldest.
Okay.
So like when I was a senior, the 3 of them were juniors and my brother was a sophomore. I think
Okay.
is how it looked. Pretty sure that's.
Okay. And did you guys start by like playing at your high school or?
We started by playing at Dave's house and the youth group came because everyone but Aaron went to the same youth group. So the youth group
Okay.
showed up for that show. And that was like definitely the worst show we'd ever done.
Of
It was
course.
so bad. Yeah. And then from there, we played at several different churches where like someone in the band knew someone at this church, and that person talked to the pastor and said, "Can we please use the church basement on this night for
Okay.
these hours?"
Okay.
And we did that several times, and then we played at there used to be this this small concert venue in Vancouver called the Corral,
I like
and
it.
yeah, and the Corral, we played at the Corral several times. That was really fun.
Okay. So what ultimately led to the breakup of the band?
Well, after I left, I think my brother stopped playing bass. I don't know what they did with bass, but anyways, I think it was a 3-piece after my brother and I left the band.
Okay.
So Ben, Aaron, and Dave kept playing for another year, and then the 3 of them all graduated, and then it was all over because they went
Yeah.
to.
You got to grow up and like get a
Yeah.
real job and all that kind of stuff, right? Music
Yeah,
doesn't pay the bills, as they say,
exactly. And
unless
then
you're
I
Paul
played in
McCartney.
several bands for short stints in college.
Okay.
So that for the next 4 years, I played in various bands, and
Okay.
that was
Always as a guitarist?
yeah.
Okay.
For one of the bands, the Daphnes, I was the lead singer,
Okay.
and I played guitar in it sometimes. It seems like I primarily sang and screamed in that one.
Nice. The Daphnes as in like Scooby-Doo Daphne?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And did you guys record anything with that band?
Yeah, but I don't think that one ended up on Bandcamp. Not that I
Okay.
know.
Okay.
So it ended up on a cassette tape.
Okay.
Where we like one spring break, we just went into the men's bathroom. Uh,
Nice.
oh no, that wasn't Daphne's. Okay, the Daphne's never recorded.
Okay.
Anyhow recorded. So I was in a band called Anyhow. That was
Okay.
the band that we recorded in the men's bathroom during spring break.
Nice.
Like literally just with a boombox, and you remember the
Yeah.
old school, you just press play and record at the same
Yeah.
time
Oh yeah.
on a
Yep.
blank tape. And then we just took that one, and
Yeah.
the boomboxes had 2 cassette
Uh-huh.
options. So you put this one here that you're recording from, and then a blank tape here,
Yep.
and then you just record. So we did
Yeah.
that, 100 times, and then
Yeah. You can just mass produce your own demo tape,
exactly.
and the quality, the sound
It was
quality is
total
epic.
crap. Total
Yes.
crap. But in a lot of ways, I remember there was a band called The Clergy in Portland. It was absolutely one of my favorite bands of all time.
Okay.
And one of their old tapes that was similar to, it was more better quality than I just described. But because it was so raw,
Hmm.
it was the best because it gave that same feel of being at
Yes.
an alternative grunge concert
Hmm.
and that raw energy.
Yep.
And when they did a CD a couple years later that was all polished, I remember some of the same songs were on that old tape, and I'm like, I don't like it.
Right.
It's too polished. I like
Yeah.
that old raw feel from that old
Yeah.
cassette.
Yeah. I'm
So
with you, man. I used to love back in the I say the early days, back when I was like in high school and I first started kind of getting into the punk rock scene and that kind of thing. And one of my favorite things was to go to shows, and you'd always have those openers that you've never heard of. And it's usually
yes,
like, 4 or 5 kids that are like in high school, and they're
yes,
they're rocking out in their garage or whatever, and they have these little demo tapes that, I mean, by kind of a production quality standpoint, are garbage,
yeah,
but they sound great. And I
exactly.
love I love knowing that. I love knowing that these kids probably just did what you just said, and they
Mhm.
pushed play and record at the same time, and
Mhm.
they just rocked out in their garage to this
Yep.
little boombox or something and recorded their demo tape. And I still, to
Uh-huh.
this day, in fact, I've taken a lot of those demo tapes because during the time when I lived in San Diego for 8 months, the scene there was huge. This was like
Mhm.
90, 97, 96,
Yeah.
97.
Yeah.
Everybody was in a band. Everybody was in a punk band. And, like everybody you met, oh, how's it going? My name's John. Here's my demo tape, or here's whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so I had all these. So at one point, when I finally had the technology available, I actually transferred them all to like digital files, so
Oh,
I could
very
put them
cool.
into my iTunes, and now I can listen
Nice.
on my phone. And they still sound like garbage. I mean, they still sound like I didn't polish them up or make them sound good or nothing. They still sound just like a crunchy demo tape, from a bunch of kids in a garage. So I mean, yeah, I feel you, man. I love that kind of thing. It's so great. And then
Yes.
a lot of times when they release their full length or they get signed, and you're like, it's still good. Like you can still see the songwriting is there, but it's just not the same, man. It's just
Right.
so anyway. Um, that's cool, man. So all right, so let's take a detour back a little bit and kind of tell me about your how you got into music in the first place. Like what was like the earliest
Yeah.
memory you have of
Yes.
really liking an album or a song or a band or something?
Okay. So my first cassette tape that I ever owned, I believe, was the Flashdance soundtrack.
Mm, nice. Was that
Yeah.
Irene Cara, or what was her name?
I don't
Sh-
know. I don't
Okay.
know
She
any
had a
of it.
couple songs on there. Flashdance was one of them. I forgot the other one she did. Anyway, yeah, I got you.
I had seen the Flashdance movie, the televised version, as we
Right.
used to do in the 80s. We could watch all these rated R movies
Right.
because they would come out on television. They'd edit out. I miss those days, dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I miss those days so much because these days I don't like watching MA. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't like filling my mind with some of the crap.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you aware of VidAngel and ClearPlay?
I am, but
Okay.
I don't have a membership or a
Oh, you should
subscription.
get. We've had one for years. We love it. We think it's
Really?
great because now with VidAngel especially, you can even stream like Netflix TV shows and stuff. And
And they
you
do the same
literally,
thing?
yeah,
Dude,
yes.
I need to do that.
When you can literally choose what you want to take out of each episode.
Oh,
Like
for
it'll
real?
tell you, here's all this in there. You can say, dope, 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 dope. You just click it. Gone, 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 gone. Okay, maybe that
Wow.
doesn't bother me as much. I'll leave that in. I'll take that out. And you do that with every movie, every episode of a TV show, and you can just custom fit it.
That,
Because like Bethany and I will watch stuff and we'll take out certain things. But if we're watching with the kids, there's other things that we'll take out.
yeah,
Like, oh, he made a crude comment or something. It's like, well, Bethany and I can handle a crude comment,
yeah, right.
but maybe not for the kids, or something,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
very
yeah.
cool because it's custom. But
All
yeah,
right, thank you for sharing that. I
yeah,
definitely need to do that.
yeah.
So yeah, so I'd seen the televised version and I loved it. I was
Hmm.
just a little kid. And my mom got me the soundtrack, and oh man, I loved it so much. And
Nice.
then she got me, I'd seen Chariots of Fire,
Mm.
the movie, and she got me that one. And then I learned how to play. Okay, so that happened. And then my mom got me one of those little Casio keyboards.
Nice. I had one of those too.
Yeah, right. We
Sweet.
all did. It was
Yeah,
such a good
yeah.
time. And the song from it wasn't from either of those albums. It was dang it, what's that movie with Eddie Murphy about when he was a cop?
Oh, Beverly Hills Cop?
Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop. Was it
Okay.
that movie that had
Yes.
do? Okay,
Yep,
yeah.
yep, yep.
That. I learned that on the Casio keyboard like a million other
Nice.
kids did during that age.
Yep.
And that was the beginning of me making music. I remember being
Okay.
so excited to show my mom that I could play that on my Casio. And I remember being so disappointed that she was like, "Oh, that's nice, dear." I wanted her just to be blown away that I could do
Yeah, right. You
that.
wanted her to like call the Grammys and be like, I got a winner
Yeah,
for you.
totally.
That's awesome, dude.
From there, I remember my first CD was Petra.
Okay. Which one? Do you remember?
I think it was like a worship album or something,
Okay. Like Petra Praise or whatever.
something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, and then I think I got an MC Hammer.
Nice.
Yeah. And then time went on, and then eventually, okay, so then I did the thing that a bazillion teenagers did in the from that transition from the 80s to the 90s.
Hmm.
When 1991 hit, right before Smells Like Teen Spirit came out, I was already transitioning out of pop and glam rock
Okay.
into heavy metal and punk rock a bit.
Okay.
And this is about the time when Elisha's Bones began.
Okay.
And so like so many people, I was in this alternative band, but I didn't even know what was going on just north of us. I
Right.
didn't realize that the Seattle sound was happening.
Hmm.
I didn't know that no one was using the word grunge at this point.
Right.
I think the word alternative was barely being used.
Hmm.
Um, Although it was, because I remember when people would ask, what kind of band are you in? We'd say, "Oh, we're an alternative band."
Right.
Um, but so Elisha's Bones had already started. And I remember one day someone said, "Hey man, have you heard this song yet?" And he handed me this cassette of Nevermind,
Yeah.
Nirvana's Nevermind.
Right.
And I listened to Smells Like Teen Spirit for the first time. And like, the story's been retold so many times by so many
Yeah.
people. I was absolutely floored.
Right.
I'd never heard anything like that in my life, and it
Yep.
changed my life forever.
Yep.
Changed my life
Yep.
forever. I was just like, what's happening with this song is everything that my soul wants to do with music.
Yeah.
And
Yes. Dude, that's so awesome.
yeah,
Man.
it was life changing, and
Yeah.
not in the best of ways in some ways,
I bet. Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
musically, it transformed me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, whoever these guys are, they captured something that I want to be a part of.
Right. Right. Yeah. I kind of have the same kind of a story, except my exodus was out of, well, I can't really call it an exodus, but I was into nothing but hip hop, rap,
Mhm.
gangster rap. That's all I listened to from
Gotcha.
like my whole life, pretty much. I mean, other than like things like Phil Collins in the cars and like stuff that my
Yeah.
parents would listen to that I would hear in the stuff, which I'm still fans of today. But like
Yeah.
it was all about hip hop, didn't want anything to do with guitars, keep it all away from me, nothing, nothing, nothing until like that. But for me, Nirvana was great, but for me, Pearl Jam was the catalyst for me.
Ah,
As soon as the 10 album came out,
yes.
it was all over, dude. I was like,
Yes.
this is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And then as the story goes, I went to see them play in Golden Gate Park when I was
Dang.
like 16, and Bad
Wow.
Religion opened up for them.
Oh, for real?
And from that moment forward, it's been punk rock all the way. Number one genre for me ever since then. So, but yeah, but man, I was in junior high, I believe, when Nevermind came out and all
Yeah.
those were coming out. And it was just, you had what you had Nevermind by Nirvana, you had 10 by Pearl Jam, you had Bad Motorfinger by Soundgarden.
Yep.
Um, what's one of them? Oh, Alice in Chains.
Yep, I saw them.
You saw them live
Yeah.
before or after Lane Staley died?
It was in no, it was before.
Oh,
It was
dude.
yeah, it was really, really good.
That's awesome, dude.
It was at Lollapalooza, so
Oh, okay.
Lollapalooza was fun, but it's not the same as being in a venue, a medium-sized venue. So I would
Sure.
prefer that, but it was still great. Saw them and
Yeah.
Rage Against the Machine, Babes in
Oh,
Toyland, and
dude.
yeah, a few others.
Oh.
That was really,
That's
really.
so awesome. Yeah, because that album came out in 91 too, I believe, was the Rage Against the Machine's first album. Um, so what year was that that you were at Lollapalooza? Was that 91, 92?
That I think it was either 92 or 93
Okay.
that I went to Lollapalooza.
And was
Yeah.
that in Seattle?
No, that was out in the gorge in Washington State.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was great.
That's awesome. Only one time you ever been there to Lollapalooza?
Yeah, I only went one time. I remember
Okay.
I spent the night before I went, or 2 nights before I went, I stayed up all night painting my Doc Martens with my friend Elisha. So they were all psychedelic looking.
Hmm.
And whatever paint we were using, it only lasted, it started to chip off within days. But I remember
Yeah.
being so excited to paint my docs all crazy before I went to the shows.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
And I bet you got nothing but compliments while you were there. Like, dude, your shoes are so cool, man.
I don't remember anyone saying anything. No one was looking down. Everyone's looking up at the. And there's a bazillion people. I don't even think it was possible to see each other's shoes.
Yeah, see those big festivals like that, I've never really been to one. Like even in Christian concert, I've never been to like the Spirit West Coast and all that or whatever. What's the one they have up there? Cornerstone. Yeah, cool. Cornerstone was in Illinois, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
What
Tom
was
Fest was here.
Tom Fest? That's the
Yeah.
one. I was trying to think of that earlier today because I was talking to somebody about Mikey Bridges,
Yes.
who's the guy that kind of started the Tom Fest
Yes.
thing. And then
Yes.
yeah, I just had lunch with somebody today where we were talking about that. Um,
Yeah, Mikey Bridges, by the way, had a big impact on my life. I don't know him personally. We've talked once or twice,
okay.
but it's not like we know each other.
Yeah.
And if someone mentioned my name to him, he wouldn't have any idea who I am. But he had a big impact on my life because of the bands he was in. I was going to
Okay.
when he was in Gecko Monks,
Okay.
sometimes Sunday,
Nice.
and then Twin Sister.
Okay.
All three of those bands
You
impacted me.
you saw them all live?
I saw them all live, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty great. But
Okay.
sometimes Sunday was my absolute favorite.
Okay.
Um, yeah, he did such a good job. His stage presence, his raw passion was
Yeah.
really, and he's such a big presence. He's so tall, and he had so much hair and all that kind of stuff. And,
Right.
and it was in some very small venues, so you were very close to the band. You're very close to the guitars, the amps, and
Yeah.
Mikey. So when he would move his body, I mean, he would be like 10 feet from you,
Hmm.
while you're jumping around and slamming into people. It
Hmm.
was, in a lot of ways, I know this sounds pretty melodramatic, but I mean, for a 17, 18-year-old, it was euphoric.
Yeah, I bet. Well, you not only had like kind of to be in around right in the prime time of when like the whole grunge movement starting, but you're up in Washington near Seattle. I'm assuming you grew up in that area.
Yeah.
So like in that area right when like the whole Tooth and Nail
Yes.
records thing starts blowing up and you have all
Yeah.
this like this whole new Christian music scene that was like
Yes.
huge. But I mean, I wasn't a part of that. Like I didn't get saved until 2002.
Okay,
So
good.
I wasn't a part of the beginnings of that, but when I was in high school, I had a bunch of guys that were always, I think you already know part of this, but like I hated Christians. I hated them with a passion.
Yeah.
I wanted them all to be gone. They're
Yes.
narrow-minded losers and all this kind of stuff, which was kind of put a target on my forehead for some of the more evangelical friends of mine or people I worked with or that I knew. And I worked with this guy in at Taco Bell who was a Christian dude, and he knew that I loved Bad Religion and No Effects and Pennywise and some of these, California punk bands. And he's like, oh, you need to get rid of all that stuff, man. And you need to, here, check this out. And he gives me this like Maxell cassette tape, right? And on one side of it was Pokin' At Ya by MXPX.
Yes.
And on the
Yes.
other side was Teenage Politics by MXPX.
Yep.
He goes, give this a listen. So I popped that in and I'm like, dude, this is good. Like this is just as good as some of the punk that I'm already listening to, and I can just like forget about the Christian lyrics and we'll just leave those behind. But I became a huge fan of at least MXPX during that time, but even then, that was probably 95, 96, right? Because I graduated in 96, so I wasn't there in the beginning, like when all that stuff started happening. So I mean, what was that like for you? Was that a big deal where you were at?
Oh yeah, it was huge, dude. It was so Tooth and Nail, when I started to get in touch with Tooth and Nail was my senior year in high school. And then
And you
all the
graduated what year? Like,
I graduated in 92.
okay, gotcha.
Um, and if memory serves me right, that's when they began, was my
It
senior.
is. Yeah, I
Okay.
think 92. I know MXPX's first album, I think, was 93,
Right. So
but
yeah,
they were like the 14th or 15th release on the label. So,
got you.
yeah.
Yeah. I had almost every single thing that Tooth and Nail released.
Okay.
Um,
Nice.
in their beginning
Hmm.
because I was just perfect timing.
Yeah.
So every dollar that I could spend on CDs went to Tooth and Nail
Okay.
record
Nice.
album. Yeah.
Which was what? Like throw some out. Like what? Wish for Eden was one of the early ones. You
Yes,
had
Wish for
like
Eden.
who
Yeah,
else?
listen to that
Yes.
ton. And
Focused.
what's that? Focus. Yes, Focus. I
Focused.
saw
Yeah.
Focus in concert. That was really,
Dude. So
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Sometimes Sunday,
Yeah.
MXPX. Starflyer 59 was really, I was a
Okay.
huge Starflyer fan. In
Yeah.
fact, I still do listen to Starflyer from time
Me
to
too.
time.
I
Yeah,
love
and
them
he's still
still.
doing music.
Yep.
Jason is still doing music. He's really
Yeah.
impressive. And I
Yes.
got to see Starflyer live. That was really
Oh,
cool.
so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I have a funny story about that actually.
Let's hear it.
But also Plank Eye. I got to see Plank Eye live.
Okay. Another good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
And
Nice.
Blenderhead.
Mm-hmm.
Crucified.
Mm.
And I knew Crucified before they were on Tooth and Nail because they were on something else before
Yeah,
then.
what was that
I,
label?
I don't remember. It's not Solid.
Yeah. Well, because I know Tooth and Nail re-released their stuff because it was
Yes.
already was like
Yeah.
the Nailed Take Up Your Cross album, I think was
Yes.
a re-release.
Yep,
But
exactly.
that album was great, dude. Just
Yeah.
that early, just kind
Yep.
of raw punk sound on there.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And one of my workout playlists, I have some of those songs
yeah.
on when they come on. Um, who else? There was a number of others, but the ones I just named were the main ones I listened to.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
What about Joy Electric?
Yeah, definitely Joy Electric.
Okay.
Yep. Listen
I
to
don't
them a
meet a lot of
lot.
people that have heard of them, but they're one of my
Yeah.
they're my top five favorite of all time is Joy Electric.
Really? Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
I
Yeah,
finally got to see them. Did you get to see
I
them
got to
live?
see live. Yeah, Ronnie got to see Ronnie live.
Okay.
That was really cool.
Back then, like in the 90s, or was it like
Yeah, back
later?
then.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, it was
crazy.
so great. He opened for Twin Sister.
Okay.
He came up here to Portland. It was when I was on summer break or something. Because I
Hmm.
went to school. I grew up in Vancouver. I was born in Portland, grew up in Vancouver,
Hmm.
but was in Portland a lot for shows and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah.
And then I went to school down in San Dimas, California.
Oh,
And then
like
I'd come.
like Bill and Ted.
Exactly. I was like, our college was literally across the street from San Dimas High School.
Okay.
Um, then I'd go home back to the Portland area for Christmas and summer break, and I'd go to
Okay.
shows. Anyway, I got to see Joy Electric open for Twin Sister, and I love it. Ronnie, the first thing he did when he got to the microphone, he says, "We're the band that everyone loves to hate." And then they started their ascent. It was so great.
But
And
dude, how ballsy is that, dude? I mean, I
yeah,
appreciate that so much about him. It's like he's
yeah,
gonna go to these shows where like these hard rock bands are playing,
for sure.
and then homie's gonna get up with a synthesizer and play
Yeah.
like this dancey pop music. Like what in the world? Like who where all the lyrics are about like medieval times and like,
Uh-huh.
fairies and dragons.
Yeah.
And it's like, who has the stones to pull something like that off, dude? I mean, how,
Yeah.
you're like almost embarrassed for him, but then you're like, no, dude, he's doing what he loves and he's good at it?
Yeah, and actually, what you're naming actually really impacted me. It was one of the
Hmm.
first times I'd ever seen someone allow himself to be who he was
Right.
and like be okay with it when it was so outside of the norm.
Yeah.
So it was, and his t-shirts that he sold had, the word Joy Electric on the front and all in like candy and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Right? And on,
the melody album. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
and on the back it says keyboards suck. So we all knew, right? That was his way
Uh,
of saying, like, I know that you guys think that I suck,
yeah.
and you're gonna love me for it.
Right.
And we
And they
did.
did. Yeah, he got a pretty decent sized kind of cult following after all that?
Totally. We did.
Uh,
All of my friends, I don't remember one of my friends being like, Joy Electric sucks so bad. And
yeah.
if anyone did, we would have been like, dude, you just don't understand.
Right. Right. Well, it's funny because I don't know if you ever saw, but there was a DVD called I think it's called Picture Phone. No, that was a song. Maybe it was called Picture. It's called Picture something. It was a DVD release. I'm pretty sure. No, maybe Velvet Blue released it. But it was all about kind of like Joy Electric and how they became a band and where they were now and all this kind of stuff. And there's interviews with other like bands of the time, like Goaty Hook and like Pax
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
217 and like some of those
Yes.
guys were in there. And it's so funny to hear them talk about Ronnie and his music. Like especially I think it was the drummer from Goaty Hook, who's a funny
Okay.
dude anyway, but he's like, yeah, the first time I met Ronnie, he was like wearing like this medieval like outfit and he wanted us to call him Count Ronald. And it was like, and he was this weird dude. And we thought, and he'd get up there and he'd sing and he'd be like, I get a sugar rush. And he like have this high voice. But then like when someone else would play, he's like, are you guys going to get in the pit or what? And he'd be like this total like punk rock guy. And I just thought that was so funny. And I thought, man, that is so cool that he's just like that, because
Yeah,
if all you knew was just watching him perform the music, you would
yeah,
think, first of all, this guy is British.
yeah.
He's
Right.
probably gay.
Uh-huh.
And, you'd have all these stereotypes about him just
Yes.
based on the kind of music he's doing and what he sounds like. But then you meet him, he's like, no, he's just down to earth. Like he's like a pastor now in Ohio. I don't know if you knew
Oh,
that.
is he really?
Yeah, he's totally, and he writes books on
Wow.
theology and he's like, he's all in. He still does music. He just
That's cool.
releases it under Ronnie Martin. It's on Velvet Blue. He's had a couple albums come out.
That's
He's got
so
one coming out
good.
pretty soon. I didn't get to see him live until, boy, what year was that? It was way later. It was like after I think like My Grandfather the Cubist, that album, like one of the last ones he did for Tooth and Nail
Okay, I don't
had
even know
just
that.
come. Yeah, it had just come out, and it was a cool set because his wife was there, and she had the whatever the I don't know terms, that little like handheld kind of keyboard thing that she was playing, and then
Oh,
he
okay.
was on an actual drum set with a
Oh,
microphone. So he was playing drums and singing, and she was doing all the electronic work. And it was
oh,
really kind of a cool setup to see him like that. But
such a unique deal.
it was neat. But it was still funny because he was the headliner, and I don't know who set this up. Some Joy Electric fan called this guy. He was up in Pismo Beach, and some Joy Electric fan was like, "Oh, we got to get this guy over here." So you had like these two like heavy, like rocky bands that played before him. And
Mhm.
everybody's like, there's a mosh pit, and there's like this guy's jumping, yeah, all this kind of stuff. And then he gets up there. And again, I'm thinking, this is what he does. He's been doing this for 20 years at this point, and it's just
Yeah.
like he's like, whatever, okay, all right, let's do it. Let's get the synthesizer out. Let's play some pop music. Oh my gosh,
So
so
great.
good, so awesome. But anyway, that was a sidetrack. But yeah, early Tooth and Nail. I mean, that was so. Where did you go from there? Like, what kind of?
As far as what I listen to,
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess so. Well, let me ask you this. So, did you grow up in a Christian home?
I did.
Okay, did you have the kind of parents that were like no secular music allowed, or was it allowed as long as it was
No,
clean, or what was the deal?
yeah, more along those lines. And I would say that my parents were, I don't know if I should use the word nominal Christians,
Hmm.
but from my perspective as a child, we went to church sometimes and we prayed at dinner.
Okay.
And that was pretty much it. And they would send me to summer camp.
Okay.
And I didn't. have any negative feelings towards Christianity or the church at all.
Hmm.
But I definitely, even as a kid, it seemed like there was a little bit of a disconnect between what we were doing. I don't know. It just didn't seem like there was a lot of heart or real passion or anything like that. But then my dad went to Nepal. My uncle kind of tricked him. My dad was a mountain. And my uncle tricked him and was like, "Hey, let's go trekking in Nepal together for a couple weeks, and we're
Hmm.
gonna stop off. I'll do this because my uncle was a pastor. We'll stop off and do this, some mission work along the way." And they
Hmm.
did go trekking through the Himalayas.
Wow.
But those moments where my dad got to experience mission work really impacted him big time. And
Yeah.
he came back with an empty suitcase. He gave all his belongings away.
Oh, wow.
And that was a turning point for our whole family. Though, as my mom put it, once, once she would say this to people, once Monty got in alignment with Christ,
Mhm.
everyone followed suit. We all got
Yeah.
in alignment with him,
Wow.
and that seemed to be what happened.
Yeah.
Um,
It's almost like what the Bible says is true about that, you
right.
know?
Yeah, so my dad started to, not in any kind of annoying way, not in any kind of overbearing way, just a very real, authentic way, started following Jesus from the heart level,
Okay.
and it impacted us.
About how old were you at that point?
I was in, I must have been, let's see, it would have been right at the tail end of middle school, the beginning of high school, because
Okay.
that's the beginning point of my Christian journey. That's how I see it. I gave my life to Christ, where it really became personal to me and real to me,
Hmm.
was the summer before my sophomore year in high school.
Okay.
So he must have got back from Nepal my freshman year in high school, maybe
Okay.
something like that.
Okay. Cool. So was to you then, as growing up, was there any distinction between like were you ever like dogmatic, like you felt like I I I shouldn't listen to secular music? Like, did you feel guilty when you did so at all?
Yes.
Or
So I
okay.
did go through, my temperament is already naturally guilty. Uh, that's a long story, but I have a type of temperament. And in my, as you know, in my
Yeah,
counseling
yeah.
practice, temperament theory is part of it. And so I
Mhm.
now understand that I naturally have a bent towards guilt.
Okay.
I didn't understand that when I was a younger, well, especially a teenager. But when
Sure.
I was a young adult, so Nirvana's Nevermind came out, and then I had this tug of war inside of me because I sensed that was what was going on with Kurt Cobain was not healthy, was not good.
Right.
But he was producing music that was amazing.
Hmm.
And so I had this dilemma. And I remember when I went to Bible college in San Dimas. I was training to become a pastor. I sensed that the Lord had a calling on my life to do ministry. And I remember I took a break from secular music while in my freshman year in college, but then I gave in and I walked to, I didn't have a car my freshman year. I walked to some store that was like a mile from the college, and I bought the Incesticide. Is that what it's called?
Oh yeah, the
Right?
B-sides album. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yep.
I brought it back to my dorm room and I listened to it for like an hour, and I felt so guilty that I threw it away. And then I did the same thing with the Beastie Boys CD, and I did that
Ah.
a couple different times.
Okay.
Um, and it took me a while to kind of come to the place where I was at peace with listening to secular music.
Okay.
But still to this day, I mean, I listen to both. There's
Sure.
a myriad of different things I listen to these days. But even I'm literally just 2 days ago. No, it was
Mhm.
last night. Holy crap. Last night, I was randomly watching some YouTube video about Nirvana. And I do this
Okay.
every once in a while. Two or three
Yeah.
times a year, I find myself just watching, and
Yeah.
there's just so many of them out there,
Oh yeah.
watching some little documentary about Nirvana, and I rarely can finish them
Okay.
because it really rocked me when he almost died. I think it was in Rome.
Yeah.
And I remember I prayed for him.
Was that like an overdose, wasn't it? Like
Yeah,
almost
yeah,
died
yeah.
from overdose.
So
Okay.
before he died, he had, yeah, that overdose.
Yeah.
I think it was in Rome.
Hmm.
And I was praying for him on a somewhat regular basis throughout my uh, freshman and sophomore year.
Hmm.
Um, and when he died, I mean, it really opened my eyes to like, I don't know. It's hard for me to put it into words. I think this is the first time I've ever tried to put it into words.
Mm.
Um, there was such a disconnect between producing good music and living a good life.
Right.
And I remember watching a documentary not too long ago. What was the name of the band? The Melvins?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. The lead singer of the Melvins, I can't remember his name, but I was watching a documentary about his take, because he was pretty close to Kurt. They went to high school together and stuff.
Yeah, I believe, if I'm correct, that Kurt Cobain was going to be the singer of the Melvins at one point,
Oh, I didn't know that.
but he didn't for whatever reason. Yeah,
Okay.
I might be wrong on that, but I thought I heard that somewhere. So,
Well, at one point, Kurt was supposed to help with producing one of their albums or
okay,
something of that nature. And
okay,
he was so messed up on drugs that he couldn't do it. Anyways, I can't remember the dude's name now, but the lead singer of the Melvins was like, the story of Kurt Cobain is not a good story.
mm,
And it was good for me to hear him say that. It validated my experience
right,
of like I'm heartbroken for Kurt Cobain.
yeah,
I'm thankful for him. I'm
right,
thankful for him for what he did for us musically because he
hmm,
brought us a great gift.
yes,
But heartbroken, and it's not a good story. It's
yeah,
not a story to celebrate.
right,
And I think that we should follow that dude's lead in that of like we should consider
hmm,
that just because someone produces amazing music that speaks to us doesn't mean that we should celebrate their choices in life.
right, absolutely. Yeah, because a lot of times we latch on to the person because we admire them.
Yes.
And sadly, there's a lot of young kids that admire some of these people so much that they end up going down that bad
Yes.
road of that singer's lifestyle. And even the singer himself is not happy with that life. I mean, when you ever see a picture of Kurt Cobain smiling, it looks weird.
Yeah, yeah.
It looks weird because you don't see it very often. You're like, oh
Right.
my gosh, is he smiling in that picture? Like, what was somebody tell a joke or like what's happening there, you know? Because it was almost always just this, and of course you never know because there's always the persona that they
Mhm.
put on. Like some of these guys have their stage persona and at home with their kids, they're just a normal dad or
Right.
something, but they're on stage. They're like, that's always wondered like what the guys from Guar are like in real life, like at home with their kids. Like, are they like, playing catch with their sons and daughters in the backyard and they're barbecuing on the weekends and wear
Yeah.
flip flops and tank tops and it's just kind of weird, but and then they get on stage and like these aliens from outer space and doing all this kind of stuff. But that's a great point. That's a really, really great point. And the fact that you kind of came to that realization is important because a lot of people don't,
Yeah,
and especially kind of in this, victim blaming kind of culture we live in
for
now.
sure. For sure.
These people would say, "Oh, well, that wasn't his fault. He had this kind of an upbringing," which, of course, that plays a role.
Yep.
Nobody can deny that doesn't play a role. But I mean,
Mhm.
we all have a backstory, right? And we all need to rise above that and do what we can with it and do the best, and get counseling. It's always a good idea, So, um, so as you're kind of going through that, like secular and Christian, like what did you ever go through, like the whole kind of cliche thing of like I don't want to listen to this secular band, like I don't want to listen to Linkin Park, so I'll listen to 38th Parallel instead, or like things
Oh
like
yeah,
that where
for
you'll get the
sure.
the Christian version that sounds so much like the original.
Yeah. In
Okay.
fact, Tooth and Nail, when they first came out, they had little posters that they produced that they gave away
Mhm.
to Christian music stores, to Christian bookstores that sold their music,
Right.
that they displayed. I would assume what they said was, "Hey, can you please display these little posters
Yeah.
to give away as for free?"
Mhm.
And on them, they listed on one side the secular bands, and on the right-hand side, the Christian bands from their label that
Yeah.
were similar.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So, they understood the marketing was,
Sure.
brilliant because that's
Yeah.
all we were looking for. We're like,
Right.
give me a band that sounds like Pearl Jam or whatever. Give me a band
Right.
that sounds like Soundgarden. And,
Yes.
of course they weren't exactly. We
Right.
didn't want that. We wanted it to be something authentic
Yeah.
and real.
We wanted something that sounded similar enough, but that our
Yeah.
parents would still let us listen to.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, totally did that.
Okay. So it's kind of interesting now. I don't know if you followed any of kind of a lot of those early Tooth and Nail bands, at least a lot of the members in them and those things. I don't know if you know, but like a lot of them don't even profess any kind of faith
Yeah, I
anymore at
do know
all.
that. It's
It's really
heartbreaking.
fascinating because some of these songs lyrically and musically that meant so much still mean so much to me today that I can still put on a song and be like, oh my gosh, like that is so spiritually true. And
Yeah,
then to think to myself, that guy doesn't even, the guy's an atheist now. Like he doesn't even
right.
believe in that what he wrote, you know? So it's
Uh-huh.
amazing to me that someone who doesn't even, I mean, I don't, I guess I mean, that's something to get into. Can you lose your salvation? I don't think you can, but I mean,
Mhm.
so that means that those people that were writing those songs, if they're not saved now, that means they never were, but they were producing
Mhm.
these so impactful spirit filled songs without having the spirit, which is
Yeah,
amazing, right? I mean,
it
it's just
is.
it's fascinating. It's like,
I've
dude,
thought about this a lot, and one of the soft conclusions I came to is the vibe of that time, although we didn't use that term at all back then, but
yeah,
there was this undercurrent that was happening during that season of our lives of if you're a Christian and you put together pretty moderately good music that really rocks and
mhm,
moves people, you're going to make it.
right,
And so I think there was a real pull for, you know, I'd rather not name names, but for certain bands, I think that they probably figured out that, like, dang, I mean, we know it, everyone in our youth group knows us. We go to this big youth group,
hmm
and all these youth groups know each other. Like, we can instantly put together a show of 200 people,
yeah,
in a week.
right,
And so I think it was very easy to do that, is my point.
yeah, yeah,
But we didn't understand the significance. When you're 17 years old and I was literally, dude, just like 4 days ago, I was sitting down with a guy who opened up to me and said, I'm not a Christian anymore.
mm,
I haven't been a Christian for 10 years.
mm.
And it wasn't that long ago that he was a worship leader at his church.
Oh, nuts. See,
And he
that's what I mean.
said,
That's crazy.
yeah, yeah. So he said, I understood that this was wrong for me to be standing up in front of my church and be singing these lyrics that I didn't believe at all.
Yeah.
And so, I affirmed him that he was doing the right thing, obviously, to be real about his journey rather than, fake it.
hmm
I won't go into the details of that conversation, but
Sure.
it's so easy to do that, is my point.
Right.
Because all of a sudden you're in this position of people like you when you do this.
hmm
You get accolades. Um, it meets some kind of need inside of your soul for being part of community and all that kind of stuff. So, when you're younger, you don't understand how all this works yet. I mean, we barely
Yeah.
do. We're older.
Right. Right. Um, are you familiar with Wind Up Records? Do you remember Wind Up
No.
Records? So do you remember the band Evanescence?
Yeah.
Okay. So Wind Up Records, I think had the idea of what you're referring to because they had a lot of bands that when they were first marketed, they were marketed as Christian bands like Evanescence. And you remember this
Uh,
Evanescence came out, they were selling that in the Christian bookstores.
yeah,
And
I
all the
hear that.
Christians were like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing. Yeah, this is great,
Yeah.
you know? And then it wasn't until like a little while, maybe 6, 7 months later, when the whole band was in an interview and they
Yeah.
were using profanity and they were jealous and they were asked about their Christianity. They're like, well, no, we're not Christians. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? And then all of a sudden, all the Christian bookstores yank all this CDs out of the stores. Like, oh, we can't
Yeah.
have this, this whole thing. And there was a few bands on that label that were like that. And I
See.
almost wonder, I don't know for sure, but I almost wonder if that label was like, okay, if you guys want to make a name for yourself, there's way too much competition in the secular world. Let's
Yeah.
just market you as a Christian band, get your name out there, get you on so in people's minds, and then there you go, and
Yes.
then once they're there, like, oh, we got 2 hit songs, we got 2 number 1s, we already got a name, we don't have to do this Christian facade anymore, and they
Uh,
drop it. The two I can think off the top of my head are Evanescence and Chevelle. I don't know if you remember the band Chevelle.
I just remember that
Okay.
name, but I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah. Anyway, it's
I
kind of
would
interesting.
real quick. I want
Yeah.
to tell a super fast story.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I got the opportunity to meet, I had coffee with this musician that is a guitarist for a band that if I told you the name of the band, you would know it.
Okay.
Secular band.
Okay.
And he used to be a part of Christian bands. And if I named those Christian bands and told you some of their songs, you would know them.
Okay.
They're very popular songs, popular bands.
Okay.
And during our conversation, he said, because I was asking him all sorts of questions. Regrettably, I had too much caffeine during our talk, and I was all like excited to meet him and talk to him.
Right.
Long story of how I got this opportunity to talk, to hang out with him for that hour. But
Yeah.
I was too, I was a little weird, I'll be completely honest. So I was asking really personal questions, and
Yeah.
I could tell he's feeling uncomfortable. But he did open up to me and said, dude, I would rather slit my throat than ever be in the Christian industry ever again.
Mm, yeah.
Now, in that conversation, he didn't renounce faith or anything. He never gave me the idea that he wasn't a Christian. It
Right.
seemed like that his roots in Christianity were still there. But that I had no feeling at all going into that coffee conversation that anything like that would be communicated to me.
Yeah.
The songs that he was a part of are some of, like you were saying earlier, are some of my favorite songs to this day.
Yeah.
Um, but what he was going through in the Christian music industry as a teenager and then a young adult
Hmm.
were horrible experiences for him.
Yeah. I hear that. I hear that from a lot of different bands that have been through that.
Yeah, it's sad, man.
Yeah.
It's really, really sad. And one of the takeaways I got from that is how important it is for us to that we prioritize the integrity of loving God and loving people over anything and everything else. So that goes for the people that are part of the production, a part of the venues, a part of the bands, like anyone who claims to be a Christian. Like we have to be so careful that we don't give into idolatry, either
Right.
idolizing the opportunity to perform, to be on stage, or idolizing money, or whatever.
Right.
Like anytime we start giving into the idolization of anything, we're gonna end up hurting ourselves and hurting others.
For
And
sure.
unfortunately, I think the Christian music industry did that big time in
Yeah.
lots of different ways, especially in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Well, they saw their opportunity. They say, "Hey, we can make some money off of this."
Yes.
Like, hey, Amy Grant is blowing up. What more can we do with this?
Right.
I can imagine them going around just saying, "Hey, do you believe in that Jesus is a real person?" And someone says, "Yeah, all right, we're gonna market you as a
Yeah.
Christian band now.
Right. Right.
Just make sure you don't swear or talk about sex in your music, and we'll be okay." Oh man. Okay, so what about give me some of your all-time just favorite bands, favorite artists
Like of all time.
of all time, just as you're here as how old are you now? You're
I'm 51 now.
51. So as a 51-year-old spanning your whole life, like what are the bands that still like resonate still? Like that you still consider them to be like a really important band to you?
Yeah, I would say Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and
Okay.
Soundgarden, still to this day. But I
Okay.
have to be really careful with, especially with Nirvana, of how much I listen to it,
Right.
because there's a visceral reaction inside of me that goes a little dark,
Okay.
with Nirvana especially.
Yeah.
But I think that's because of the experiences I had with Kurt Cobain's death and all that.
Yeah.
But Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, it seems like, because I love the 10 album as well, but
Yeah.
Soundgarden especially, um, I really resonate with that music more so today than I did back then.
Interesting.
Yeah. And
Okay.
of course, he had a tragic ending,
Yeah.
but it was different for me because I wasn't emotionally involved with his story as I was with Kurt's.
Right. Right.
But
Plus you were quite a bit older by the time Chris Cornell
yes,
died.
yes,
So
exactly. Um, Outside of that, um, Keith Green to this day,
okay.
as I went through, as a lot of Christians do, especially from our generation, I went through a Keith Green phase
Hmm.
for a good 6 months to a year, and that phase has there's ripple effects of that phase still impacting me today. I still sing his songs by myself today.
Okay.
Um,
You know what's funny? I didn't even know who Keith Green was
uh,
until Joy Electric covered
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Make My Life a Prayer.
Dude, that was such a good
Yeah.
album. That
Yeah.
what when they did that, all those bands that covered Keith
Oh
Green
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
It
good.
was called something Lamb, I think was the name of that album with
I don't
it was
remember.
all Keith Green songs, but a bunch of
Yeah,
bands doing his songs. Yeah.
exactly. That was so great.
Hmm.
Um, because I have to confess that because of the what I do for vocation these days as a pastoral counselor, I'm primarily listening to audiobooks and
Hmm.
podcasts that relate to my work because I'm consistently trying to be better equipped to help people. So I don't listen to music as often as I wish I did. My
Okay.
wife gets after me for that because she knows that it's not healthy for me to only do that. So I
Right.
try to listen to music every now and then, but it's not very often. But when I do, I'm like, why am I not listening to music all the time? This is so good for my soul. But one of the guys that I've been listening to more often lately is Jose Gonzalez that did that. The soundtrack for The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. I
Oh, okay.
really like that guy's.
Yeah, I've never heard of him. I mean, I've seen the movie, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known who did the music.
And then I really dig the Avett Brothers. I really like them a lot. And it's so as you can see, as I get older, which is, common for I think a lot of people, and it's embarrassing to admit, but I'm listening to softer music and things
Right.
that make me reflect.
Sure.
Make me contemplate and like get into a place of appreciation and gratitude
Yeah.
and music that allows me to cultivate life-giving things inside of me.
Yeah.
That being said, though, I also have these playlists on my Spotify account that, speak to energy and rawness that I
Hmm.
like too, but it's not very often that I listen to that.
Okay. Yeah, for me, like when we talk about that kind of a deal, like people talk about like worship music and what we kind of commonly call worship music is kind of the stuff we sing in the. I've never really resonated much with what most people call worship music. Like there are certain songs that I like but it's always the songs to me that are about like our depravity and our like
Mm-hmm.
unworthiness of the kind of stuff. So I mean, like when I hear songs like that hit those notes,
Mm-hmm.
those are the ones that I consider to be more worship music. Like there's a couple of like Five Iron Frenzy songs that I feel like
Oh
are
yeah,
like
yeah,
that, or Dogwood. I don't know if you're familiar with
yeah.
Dogwood.
I know of Dogwood.
Okay. Yeah, they have a song called Do or Die. Um, that's just, I mean, lyrically, it starts, I killed the Son of God today.
Uh,
I built the cross where he was slain.
Dang.
Yeah, it's deep, man. It's just the kind of stuff that just cuts you, and you're like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, that's right. I am a worthless sinner. And, I get it. It's like, and then you find yourself being more gratitude. But
Right, because that reminds you of mercy.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think a
Yes.
lot of the modern day worship songs are more, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but they're just kind of,
Yeah.
Jesus is great. He's wonderful. He's my homie. We're so happy. And, those kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, all that's true. Of course, he is great and all that. But I don't know. It just seems kind
Yeah.
of kind of
I hear
surface
that.
to me. But
Totally hear that.
yeah.
Another band that I should mention.
Yes.
Although I'm not like a huge, which is also pretty cliche. I mean, a bazillion people say this too. U2 really made a big impact on
Oh,
me.
nice. Good
The
one.
Joshua Tree album.
Yeah.
And then after that, it kind of went downhill from there, and then really
Okay.
downhill, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But man, their Joshua Tree, in my opinion, is one of the best albums ever made in the
I would
history
agree.
of music.
I would agree. Yeah.
A couple years
Ever.
ago, my son and I we did a birding slash camping trip at Joshua Tree, and
Oh, in
yeah,
California.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And he's not a birder. I'm a birder. And he was like, "Hey, Dad, for your 50th birthday." Oh, no, I called him up. And I said, "Hey, my 50th birthday's coming up.
Okay.
I wanted to know if you and I could hang out for a week birding up Joshua Tree."
Okay.
And he's like, 100% dad, let's do it. Whatever I got to do to make that happen, we're going to do
Yeah.
it.
And
And that's
birding is what? Like bird watching?
yeah, yeah. It's not just bird watching though. That's a whole topic in and of itself. But it gets super geeky.
Yeah, I could tell you're just like, oh, people think it's just bird watching and it's not. There's so much more.
It is. But I can, yeah, anyhow. So we went birding, but I told him, like, hey, we got to make sure we listen to the Joshua Tree album, of course.
Okay,
And he's like,
nice.
of course we're going to do that.
Hmm.
And that was such a joy to me to drive through Joshua Tree while listening
Yeah,
to the album. It was so
yeah.
great.
Those are
That
such
album had a
neat
big
looking.
impact.
That's such a neat looking area.
It is.
Yeah,
Absolutely love it up
yeah.
there.
Hmm. Very cool.
There's several other bands. Jars of Clay really had a big impact on my life when I was in college.
Okay. That's
The
that's one of the bands that I actually listened to before I was a Christian.
oh
I
yeah.
think probably them and MXPX were the only two
Yes.
bands that I would ever consider. And I had the Jars of Clay, the first album, and it's just
Yep.
to this day, I think that's hands down their best. Their
A
sound kind
hundred
of changed
percent.
after that, and it was still good, but it's just
Yeah,
not the same.
yeah, it's all right. But that
Yeah,
album in particular was really,
yeah,
really good.
yeah.
There's been a number of other bands I've been really into over the years, but I did not prepare for this conversation. I did
Mhm.
that on purpose. I just wanted to see what came out of my mouth.
Yeah,
So
sure.
probably later I'll be like, why didn't I bring up all these bands that I listed? But these are the bands that are coming to mind.
Okay, cool, man. Yeah, for me, U2 was definitely one that was my dad got me into that when Joshua Tree came out. I always assumed Joshua Tree was their first album. Just because that's
Oh,
kind of when like they got put on the map. That's when everybody's
yeah.
talking about. I mean, Where the Streets Have No Name, With or Without
Yes.
You. These were all over MTV and everything.
Yes.
And then as I started getting into them, as I got older, I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is like their seventh album. They have a whole
Yeah,
bunch before
they
this. Like,
do.
what in the world? But
They do. And I used to own all the records,
yeah,
like literally
like
the
the
vinyl.
vinyl. Oh no
Yeah, it
way!
was so cool.
What
Uh,
happened? Where'd they go?
I think I gave them to my son. I'm not sure where those went.
Okay.
Our record player died several years ago, and
Hmm.
but yeah, yeah, they were great until they got famous, which is so common.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the story of what's the name of the band that made the song Yellow?
Yellow.
Yeah, and Rush of Blood to the Head was the name of one of their albums. Coldplay.
Oh, Coldplay. Yeah. See, I'm not real familiar with their stuff.
Yeah, I loved Coldplay like in
Okay.
97,
Okay.
98, and
Hmm.
then all downhill from there, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Um, and it seems to happen a lot.
Hmm.
Like the freshman album, maybe the sophomore album, and then just total
Right.
garbage after
Right.
that.
Right. Yeah. Very few bands make it out of that, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know why that is, but um, there's something else I wanted to go. One last thing I wanted to go to for music, and I can't remember what it was now. Oh, just like what about some favorite like actual songs, like either from some of these bands you've mentioned, or even
Hmm.
maybe some songs that just are one hit wonders that mean a lot to you just for the
Yeah,
song itself.
yeah. Ned's Atomic Dustbin, Gray
Okay,
Cell Green,
what's
Gray
the
Cell
song?
Green. What's that?
What's the song?
Gray Cell Green.
Gray as in the color.
Yeah, Cell as in
S-
Cell.
Okay,
Yeah, that's one of my absolute favorite songs of all time.
okay.
Um, of course, Alive and uh, what was the other one in the 10 album?
Oh, there's a
Uh,
bunch. Alive, Even Flow, Jeremy.
Even Flow, yeah. Even
Okay.
Flow and Alive. I listen to those songs over and over
Okay.
and over,
Yeah.
over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, most of the songs on Nevermind,
Yeah.
especially one baby to another says I'm lucky to met you.
Oh, yeah. What song is that?
Da, 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 da,
Na,
da.
na, na, na. Yeah.
That one,
Oh, I forgot the name of that one too.
yeah. So that one.
Okay. Okay.
I've played that one so many times on my guitar,
Oh, yeah.
um,
Nice.
and screamed it out. Uh, individual songs. Yeah, I'm coming up with blanks.
Okay.
I'd say Grace Hill Green is probably one of the one-hit wonders that
Okay. And I've heard
um,
of the band. I've heard of Ned's Atomic Dustbin. I just haven't. That's all I
in
know.
my mind, that song put them on a little map.
Okay.
Um, I really don't know. I've listened to some of their other songs, but that's the only one that I actually have been
Okay.
like attached to.
Nice. Very cool. Um, all right, man. Politics, everybody's favorite
Yeah.
topic. So,
Yeah.
so there's lots of different ways we can go with this. Obviously, we can talk about government, we could talk about presidents and mayors and governors, that kind of deal. We can
Mhm.
talk about world issues and things that are impactful to you, or things that you think suck, or things that you think are good, or things you would
Mhm.
change. So I'll leave that totally up to you, man.
Okay. I'll start by saying this.
Okay.
Hang on a second. Let me. So I've never been a political guy.
Okay.
I vote. I vote primarily Republican. I have voted Democrat a few times,
Okay.
but primarily Republican. I don't like politics. I don't like talking about it or thinking about it,
Okay.
but it needs to be talked about. It needs to be thought about.
Sure.
It is what it is.
It's important. I mean, it affects us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
mhm.
I have political conversations on a very regular basis as a pastoral counselor.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, very regular.
Interesting.
And yeah, because people are processing, like literally right before we got on this call, I
Hmm.
was on a call with a guy who's having an extremely difficult time with the political scene and the scene on social media after the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so he's struggling big time to love people. He's full of hate right now, and he knows it, and
Yeah.
he's wrestling with it. And he's a man who naturally struggles with bitterness anyway.
Hmm.
And I'm very proud of him. I love the guy very much because he's so honest. He's
Hmm.
very transparent. There's no hiding anything from me. He says anything and everything that he's going through. Um, but we had a good conversation today about what it looks like for him to be a follower of Jesus and watch the news,
Mm.
to be a follower of Jesus and be on social media.
Yeah. Can you do both of those things? I don't know if it's
Exactly.
possible.
And at the end of the conversation, he had made the decision that he's going to take another break from the news and another
Yeah.
break from social media.
Yeah.
Um, but he's a very strong conservative, and I wouldn't consider myself a very strong conservative. I would consider myself a moderate conservative,
Okay.
um, kind of in the middle, but leaning like right leaning from the middle.
Okay. Center right, they call that.
Center right, yeah, center
Okay.
right. Where I used to be center left, I would say, just in my own estimation, but
Okay.
now I'm more center right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
About what point did that switch over for you?
Um, I would say so weird to think this way, but I'm not a Donald Trump fan.
Hmm.
But the tension that we've all felt, regardless of where you fall on what you think of Trump, has ironically made me a little bit more right-leaning, even
Mm.
though I don't like him.
Interesting. No, that's
I know, isn't
interesting.
that?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so interesting to me too.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm very pro-life,
Okay.
but I also love my friends and family members who are pro-choice
Sure.
and don't have any problems whatsoever having uh, loving conversations with them. As
Right.
long as they're not being, you know, a bully towards me.
Right. Like you would have a problem with them having the action of having an abortion, but that
Yes.
doesn't mean you have a problem with
With
them per
them.
se.
Yeah,
Like you can still
exactly.
love them anyway.
Yeah. And I've
Yeah.
talked to multiple people who have had abortions, not
Sure.
a ton, but as a pastoral counselor,
Hmm.
and walked them. One individual in particular helped a couple, and in particular her, walk through what she was going through today.
Right.
with her past choices. And that was a beautiful experience. It was
Hmm.
very, very beautiful,
Yeah.
very healing, very, uh,
Yeah.
one of actually, I'll go as far as say it was one of my favorite experiences as a pastoral counselor I've ever had.
Mm. Just to watch
Um,
her heal from that trauma, you mean? Or
yeah.
mm.
And
Yeah.
and then I've also talked to men who have convinced their girlfriends to get an abortion or whatever, and then walk through that guilt
Yeah. Yeah.
afterwards and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You
Which
know,
is not that's something that is unfortunately is not talked about enough.
I agree.
Is the aftermath and what these women and men, mostly women for the
Yes,
most part, deal with in the
yes.
aftermath. I mean, because yeah, there's all these reasons of why they kind of justify it. Oh, I had to. I didn't have enough money. I didn't want to be pregnant. I was too young. I didn't have a job. You know, all these different things.
Hmm.
But nobody talks about like, yeah, but what about after the fact? What are these
Hmm.
women? How many of these women are able just to walk away from that and just never think about it again?
Yes,
Right? Like, not very many, you know?
right.
So for most of them, I mean, like, as you said, I mean, I've talked with lots of women that have had abortions in the past. I've yet to meet a single woman who doesn't regret it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? In some
yeah,
way, shape, or form.
yeah. Right.
So
I'm with you.
yeah.
Um, I've done the needed, I believe, a needed mental exercise, some soul searching of, okay, well, so I have five children, one boy and four girls.
Mm.
Um,
One boy
and
only?
one boy, yeah,
Is he
he's
the
the
oldest?
oldest.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So he's
Okay.
a 27, and then they go anyway. So we
Yeah.
only have one left at home. She's 16.
Okay.
So I every now and then I have to do some soul searching of what if one of them was raped by
Hmm.
some terrible man
Right.
and they got pregnant. And she came to me and said, Dad, I don't want to have this child. I want to give an abortion.
Right.
How would I respond? And you never know that answer unless you're actually faced. And obviously, I pray to God, Lord, spare us all of
Oh,
that,
of course.
right? But I think that is a needed exercise that we do as Christian fathers
Hmm.
if we're going to say that we are pro-life. Now, I have Christian friends who are like they don't want anyone to ever have an abortion, but they do want women to have a choice.
Right. Which doesn't, well, I guess it does make sense. I was going to say that doesn't make sense, but it does.
Yeah, it
They're
does
saying
make
that
sense
people
to me
should have
too.
the choice, women should have the
Yeah.
choice to do so,
Uh-huh.
but that particular person is like, but I hope you don't choose to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And
Right.
I respect that point of view.
Yeah.
I can see where they're coming from.
Hmm.
I don't think that way, but I do see the value or like the health in it as
Hmm.
far as
Hmm.
like especially putting a woman in a position where well, I'm gonna have it anyway, so I don't care what you guys do with your, making it legal or illegal. I'm gonna do it. So now,
Right.
putting a woman in a position of doing it in some kind of sketchy way.
Yeah.
That's
What would you say, in your opinion, though, what would you say is the percentage of women, let's say, that outlawed abortion across the world
yeah.
tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like, of the women, let's just say, just throw a number out there. This is a wrong number, but let's just throw out, say there's 500 women that want to get abortions.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And then when it was legal, there was 500. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make the appointment and go down. And
Yeah.
then tomorrow, all of a sudden, it's outlawed. You can't actually go to a clinic. You can't go anywhere to have it done. So now
Yeah.
you're forced with either having the baby or performing the abortion yourself or having a friend do it or something, some back alley, what they call a back alley abortion, right?
Yep. Mhm.
How many of those 500 women do you think would actually do the back alley abortion?
Like one?
Not very many, right?
No, I don't know.
Right,
But
right.
probably very few would be my
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, yeah.
The other part of this conversation is I'm a man.
Hmm.
And I remember talking to a gal that she was like, I hate listening to men talk about abortion. I
Oh, yeah.
hate.
Yep.
And I'd never heard that before. I'd never even thought about that before. I've thought about it ever since.
Mhm.
I've
Yeah, yeah,
never forgotten it. I was like, not to say that, oh yeah, men should never talk about it. They shouldn't have a say. Well, I don't think that.
right.
However, I do think there's value in pumping the brakes as men and going, hey, we do not know what it's like to be a woman.
Mhm.
We do not know what it's like to be a woman carrying a child. We do
Right.
not know what it's like to be a woman carrying a child that is because of a man that took advantage of her, you know? So
Sure.
I try to keep all of those things into consideration and to
Mhm.
make sure I'm cultivating a lot of compassion, understanding, and empathy, and that I never want to become a man who is crass or unfeeling or, just stupid.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah, and I think we need to be compassionate. We need to be empathetic and all that. And you're right. We as men, we will never know what it feels like to be pregnant. We will never know what it feels like to, pee sitting down. We will never know none of that stuff, right?
mhm.
But there's kind of more at stake, right? Like, and this is I find myself in these discussions. I've had plenty of discussions with men on here about this. I've had discussions with women on here. Some of the women have told me that I don't really have a right to even have an opinion on the subject because I'm a man, which is fine. They have a right to have that opinion.
Yeah, sure.
I don't. I first of all, I totally understand. That's true. I don't know what it's like to be a woman, but I'm not sure that that should completely take away my right to have a say in it.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, those videos break my heart where, the woman's going to the Planned Parenthood and she's got the scheduled abortion and the father of the child is following after her, sobbing and weeping, begging
Mhm.
her with all he has that please don't kill my child. Please don't kill my child. You will never have to see us again. Just give birth to the baby. Give me the baby. We will go away. I will never call you. I'll never talk to you. We'll live alone. You don't have to do anything. Just have the baby. And then she still goes in there and he just collapses in a heap. And I cannot even imagine being that guy. I mean, I've said before, joking, not joking, but because I really don't know what I would do. But I've always said, kind of like joking, like you might see me on the news,
Mm.
something like that. You might actually see me doing something crazy because in my own mind, I'm thinking that is my child that I helped create. Like it's a living, breathing child in there, not breathing, but it's a living
Yeah.
heartbeat and everything else. And just because the dad really has no rights to that once
Mhm.
as long as at least while she's pregnant. After she gives birth, of course, then the parents both have equal rights for some reason. I don't understand that either.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
um, but what I find interesting, and this is something that I first saw Charlie Kirk do. I don't know if other people have done this before, but I don't know if you've ever watched Charlie Kirk videos. But he asks people, he'll tell people, I have two photos here of ultrasounds. Have you seen him do this?
No.
He'll tell somebody when they're talking about the idea um, of the abortions due to rape and incest and that kind of thing. He says, I have two pictures of babies, or I have two ultrasounds here. He says, one of them was conceived by rape. One of them was conceived by a loving family. And the person goes, yeah, okay. He goes, can you tell me which one is which? And they go, well, no, how could I know that? He goes, exactly, because they're both humans that were made in the image of God, regardless of how that
Yes.
creation took place, that is still an individual person in there that has nothing to do with the horrendous sins of the father. And I'm the kind of guy that says, you rape somebody, that's castration. That's automatic castration. Just boom, right there.
Right.
Done. I mean, as long as I can prove it.
Right.
Because as we saw in the Me Too movement, I'm like, some of these guys are like, what do you mean? I
Yeah.
never even met that girl. What are you talking
Right.
about?
Right.
I don't want to see guys getting castrated for no reason. But if he truly is a rapist or truly is as a child molester or anything like that, I got no sympathy for those people at all. Even in my Christian, I mean, and I watched court cases where the father of a child who was raped or whatever, he forgives them on camera. That's touching, man. I break down in tears every time I see something like that. But I also think to myself, I don't think that would be me. I would be more like the guy jumping over the table, knocking the bailiff out of the way and trying to kill that guy right there in the courtroom, just because I know myself. Doesn't mean I'd be right in doing so. I'm just
Right.
saying that's
Yeah.
probably what I would do. Um, so anyway, I mean, all that to say, that's a hard one, you know. But a kind of an interesting thing that Ben Shapiro brought up one time when I was watching him, it's probably one of his most famous clips, but where the girl's like, well, what about in the cases of rape and incest for abortion? And he said, well, okay, we'll talk about that. But first, let me ask you, if we can agree on rape and incest, would you say that the other 99% of abortions committed should all those be outlawed? And the girl goes, well, no, I think women should be able to get an abortion for whatever reason they want. And he says, well, then why are you bringing up rape and incest?
Right.
Right? Why are you bringing up the 1% in order to justify the 99%? That doesn't make any sense. You're just using that as a talking point to try to get your way over here.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I vote the way that I do primarily. I mean, I primarily vote the way I do based on this topic.
Mm,
And I know there's a lot of people out there that are saying, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are very angry that that is the case.
right.
But
Right.
I have not been able, I try to do soul searching before I vote on this topic. And I always come to the same conclusion. I don't think that we should have legalized the ability to murder a child.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to for me.
Right. Well, me too. I mean, and I think that's kind of the crux, right? Because some of the people on the other side would say, no, that's not murdering a child. What are you talking about?
Right.
That's a clump of cells. It's no different than having your appendix removed, is what they'll say.
Yeah,
Or
right.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's like, well, I don't know about that.
But your appendix doesn't scream, doesn't do the silent scream when
Yeah.
it's cut.
Right.
And
Right.
do you remember that Crucified song?
I was just gonna say that's a
Yeah.
crucified song. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That came after the one that says 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
G-O-D.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's a touchy one. But you have five kids. The oldest is 26 and the youngest is 16.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
He's about to turn 27. So yeah, he's 26, she's 16.
Okay. What's his birth month?
November 10th.
Shut up.
Is that your birthday?
No, it's so our oldest is going to be
Yeah.
27 on
No
on
way.
November 11th.
Oh, that's so crazy.
And the reason I asked about your kids again is because when you said so our youngest is also going to be 16. He's 15 now, but
Oh,
he's going to be
yeah.
16. But we only have four, so you guys snuck one more in there in the middle somewhere. But yeah,
Yeah.
our oldest is going to be 27, our youngest is 15. So it's just kind of
Crazy.
funny how that's man, November 10th, trip out, dude. That's crazy. So
Yeah.
you first became a father one day before I did.
I beat you.
Mm-hmm. We sure did. Yeah.
That's
But
cool.
you got 4 years on me though. So
That's
you
true.
must have been what, 24 when he was born?
I think so. That sounds
Yeah.
about
Yeah, I was 20 when our first was
right.
born.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, I was young and Bethany was only 18.
Dang.
Yeah, dude. She got to go through the minor parenting program. She got to do the last year of her senior year of high school pregnant.
Wow. That is wild.
Yeah. Yes. That's how we do things around here, I guess. It's like, not condoning, but Um, so unless you have more on the abortion thing, I wanted to move to
No,
you
go
mentioned
for it.
that you're a moderate conservative. So like what would
Yeah.
you say? And you mentioned like center right. Like so
Yeah.
what are some of the kind of things in there that would make you feel that you're not all the way right? Like what are some of the things that you would disagree with the
Yeah.
conservatives about?
Actually, I didn't even think about this until right now, but have you ever heard of this book, Live No Lies, by Mark John
No.
Comer?
Nope, never heard of
I'm
it.
a Mark John Comer fan.
Okay.
He is the founder of the church that we belong to,
Oh
Bridgetown
wow.
in
Okay.
Portland. He now is in your neck of the woods.
Oh really?
But yeah.
How what city?
What is the name of the Okay, so my son lives in Santa Monica, and he goes to a
Okay.
church there in Santa Monica. I think it's called Vintage. And John Mark Comer teaches at that church sometimes.
Okay. So that's more like LA area.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, in my mind, you guys are all in the same
We're
area.
all in the same place. That's why when I meet people, they'll say, "Oh, you're from California. Do you know my cousin Bob?" You know what? I do. I do know your cousin Bob. Yes. Yes. Since the population of California is 50 people. Yeah, I know everybody here.
That is hilarious. I If I can find it real quick, bear with me. I want to
Yeah, go
read
for
to
it.
you a page from this book.
Hmm.
He wrote this in like what, 2021? So at the height of one of the political scene. Yeah,
Yeah.
2021. Um, I really like the way that he tries to make us think about topics that relate to politics. Yeah, if you're cool with it, I'd like to just read
Yeah, go
like a
for it, man.
page and a half of this.
Hit it.
Um, some deeply disconcerting facts related to attachment theory are also worth noting. In spite of the cultural narratives that state otherwise, divorce is a traumatic event for children of all ages, and we're learning is directly tied to the rising number of people who struggle to develop intimate, healthy relationships in adulthood. Psychologists argue that the drop in those who identify as having secure attachment is wreaking havoc in our society. Consider that divorce, while cited as an example of liberation, has been shown to disproportionately benefit men, or that those who cohabitate before marriage are less likely to marry, are more likely to get a divorce if they do, and often develop long-term trust issues, or the research um, that our body during sex, uh, he says some words I don't even know how to pronounce, that
That's how you
bring
know
it.
he's smart.
Yeah, that bring attachment system online and cause us to bond to another person. It seems that the more sexual partners you have, the less capacity your body has for intimacy, or the much documented but less talked about data on the effects of abortion on women's mental and physical health, causing some to um, hypothesize the left will eventually change its now hardline view, or that 25% of children spend a portion of their childhood without a father in the home. Overwhelming evidence indicates that this experience is damaging to both boys and girls, or that sex reassignment surgery and hormone therapy for those who identify as transgender do not benefit their emotional health, which is a main rationale behind them, or the status on the epidemic of sexual addiction across the West, or the fact that porn is becoming increasingly violent, misogynistic, and cruel, and is now a multi-billion-dollar industry intentionally targeting children. Never mind that while Me Too was dominating headlines, the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy, the story about male sexual domination, was becoming the highest selling book series of the decade and one of the highest grossing film franchises of all time. Never mind that sexual abuse and sexual assault are getting worse, not better. Statistically, one out of every four women will experience sexual violence at some point in their lives. Never mind that rape culture is a raging problem, even on the most liberal, progressive campuses of elite universities. These facts are conveniently left out of the discussion, if there even is a discussion. That type of mentality is kind of where I land. And I know that has more to do with morality than politics, but it
Right.
relates,
Oh, for sure.
right? There's
Yes.
overlap.
Well, politics is really it is morality. It's us arguing about what morality is, really, if you
Yeah,
think about it.
yeah. That's a good way to put it. I never thought of it that way, but yes, I agree with that statement.
Yeah.
He has other things to say in his book that I think are definitely worth considering. I
Yeah.
highly recommend this book.
Yeah.
Um, and there's another page I wish I could read, but it would take me some time to find it.
Yeah.
But when it comes down, I'll tell you this, the primary reason why I say what I tell people is when it comes to politics, I'm kind of purple, but I'm a little bit more red
Okay.
than blue. And what I really mean by that is I I align myself with a lot of what the Republican Party says they believe as far as morals go.
Right.
But my lived experience throughout my life is that when I think of the Republican Party, I do not think of the love of Jesus.
Right.
And therefore, I don't want to say the words that I'm a hard right-leaning person or, ultra conservative, because to me, now I'm not saying that others need to frame this the way I do. It's just how I frame it in my own thinking in my own heart.
Right.
I want to align myself with the ethic of Jesus and how you treat people and how
Yeah.
you talk about people. So although I end up voting right often,
Yeah.
my heart is like, I don't want to associate myself with something that isn't of the Jesus ethic, and that is primarily to love my neighbor as myself.
Right. Well, but from what I understand, Jesus was a white middle class Republican. So, I mean, that's that's what some people on the far right will tell me anyway. Um, yeah. Yeah. And I think that's probably, I mean, especially as us Christians, I would say that as us Christians, but I mean, really, it's the right way. I mean, that's obviously you and I would agree on it. But I
Yeah.
say as us Christians, well, all I mean by that is there's others that would disagree with us and they'd
Mhm.
be wrong, but they would disagree with us. But I mean, I think that obviously is our ultimate morality. That's our ultimate. I mean, anything to do with politics, anything to do with our world, anything to do with all of course, we want to follow the example of Christ, right?
Mhm.
But it's interesting where we talk about, yes, love your neighbor as you love yourself, that the whole verse, Jesus taught love and all that. But the issue that I find, and I'll use this as an example just because it's current, is the things like the deportations that are happening throughout
Yes.
a lot of California and Texas and a lot of these places. And people will say, and of course, this will be the only time in their whole life they ever decide to quote the Bible, but they'll quote these things that Jesus said, and they'll say, "See, Jesus would never deport these people. Jesus was all about love, and he was loving." And people will post stuff on Facebook like about something. I'm pretty sure when Jesus said, "Love your neighbor," he didn't mean to hate them.
Mm,
Right. And this is the kind of stuff that they say. And this is one of my biggest pet peeves because they're posting something like that as an attack on somebody who's pro ICE or pro
yeah.
deportation, but their argument is wrong because let's say somebody came to me and they said, Ryan, we shouldn't hate people. I would say, I agree with you completely, right? Because I
Yeah.
do. But then
Yeah.
they would say, well, then how can you be pro deportation? See,
Right.
that's the connection they're making. That if
That's
if
a
you're
hateful.
pro, yeah, that's a hate. See, and that's why we need to start like when I get into a conversation with somebody, I want to make sure we're saying all the right things. Like
Mhm.
our back to abortion is like, I believe a woman has the right to do whatever she wants with her body, and I'll say, I agree completely with you, 100%, absolutely, right?
Right.
Because it's the body inside her body that I'm referring to. It's not her body. If she wants to get a tattoo, I'm all for it. If
Right.
she can choose who she sleeps with, she can choose what medication she takes, she can choose, what kind of food she wants to eat, all that. Hey, I'm all for that. So it's the wrong arguments people are having. But kind of back to my point. So when we say something that you and I both know is true, which is that we are to love our enemies, pray for those that persecute us. We're to love our neighbor as ourselves. You see it all throughout Scripture: love, 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 love.
Yeah.
But does that mean accept everything? Does that mean
Right.
don't prosecute law breaking? Don't
Mhm.
to where some people would say, yeah, absolutely. Well, depending on the law, if it's a law that I disagree with, then yeah, Jesus would never. He would
Mhm.
never prosecute that. It's like,
Mhm.
well, wait a minute. Like, I mean, so I don't know. So I mean, like, I use the deportations thing because it's fresh, but I can look at that and I can have compassion and I can have empathy, but we have laws. So do
Yeah.
we enforce them or do we not enforce them? I mean, if are we going to try to just get those laws off the books? That's a whole different conversation. But it's like, anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah. That's a tough one. I haven't landed on a hard place one way or the other with deportation.
Hmm.
Um, I have a really difficult time with people who are very loud in their opinions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was at a, graduation this past June where the class speaker, what do they call that? The person that shoot. Anyway, the class speaker
Hmm.
was making her speech, and all of a sudden, half of her speech was, well, I'd say about a quarter of her speech was just beautiful, and then three-quarters of her speech just went full on political, and
Mm.
like she got louder and louder and
Yeah.
louder and more intense, and it was very, very left-leaning.
Yeah.
And I was so turned off by it. I was
Mm.
like, just get me out of here. This is disgusting. I hate
Yeah.
this. I
Right.
don't hate you, but I hate this experience.
Yeah.
And then I've listened to guys in my office who are very right leaning on this topic. And the way they talk about it is just disgusting. I hate
Mm,
it. I don't hate them. I
right.
hate the feeling I have when they talk about it because it's so um almost like militanistic. Is that the word? I feel like I'm
Tyrannical.
tyrannical. That's a good word to use. Yeah, it
Okay.
feels tyrannical. And oh man. Okay, regardless of what we do with deportation, can we please learn to love one another while
Right.
we discuss these things?
Sure.
Because as Jesus taught, in the end, the love of most will grow cold,
Mm,
but he who stands to the end will be saved.
yeah.
In the end, Christians' love will be lost, and they will turn into tyrannical religious people, and it will
Mm,
have nothing to do with the kingdom of God.
yeah.
And I do not want to ever fall into that trap.
Right.
So, regardless of whether we deport people or not, we better learn to love our
Yeah.
neighbor, pray for those who persecute us.
Right.
Um,
But what's that look like in practice? Like, do you take them
mhm.
to the border, give them a hug, tell them you love them, and then send them on their way? Or I mean, what does
Yeah,
it look
possibly.
like? Okay. Because I'm just saying, like,
Possibly.
somebody from the other side of that would say, they would basically say it's impossible to be loving that person and deporting them at the same time. That just
Mhm.
can't happen in their view, right?
Yeah, and then that has to do with what does the manifestation of love look like from one relationship to the other?
Hmm.
Because how I love my wife and children is going to look very different than how I love my neighbor Ed.
Right.
The manifestation of love is going to look different. And how I love the guy who flips me off on I-5, and how, you know what I'm saying? Because love manifested to the guy that flips me off I-5 would just be just to keep my mouth shut and
Right.
just keep my eyes on the road and drive the speed limit. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what love would do.
Sure.
Um, if my son flips someone off while he was driving, I was in the passenger seat
Hmm.
because someone, flipped him off, love is going to look and sound different than that. It might sound like, hey, son, like let's take a couple breaths. Like it's not worth it.
Right.
Actually, I'd probably just be quiet until he calmed down, and then I would probably say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And what would love look like from him to me if I flip someone off?
Right.
Dad, yo, dad,
Yeah.
let's remember who you are.
Right. Right. Yeah,
And
for sure. Of
so, in other
course.
words, my point is that love might look like me saying, "Hey, I can't imagine being in your shoes. I can't imagine what this is going to look like for your family. I can't
Sure.
imagine the pain you're feeling. And yes, you
Yeah.
are deported.
Right.
I do wish you the best, and we're sending you with these gifts, or whatever the case is."
Sure. Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It might look like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess similar to like, things like I found this debate fascinating and I brought it up. I bring it up a lot. I don't know. Are you familiar with Frank Turek?
I know that name, but I don't know
He
why.
does, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
is
Yeah.
his ministry.
Yeah.
He was actually one of the ones he was standing right behind Charlie Kirk when he was killed.
Oh, okay.
But he did a debate one time. Him and another Christian guy did a debate with two guys from the LGBT community that
Uh-huh.
were professing Christians, and the whole debate was based on does love require approval?
Mm,
Was the whole idea. And of course, the premise was, can you still love somebody from the LGBT community if you don't approve of their lifestyle? Right? Was
yeah.
basically
I have
where they
this
were.
conversation all the time with them.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. But where Frank Turek went with it, I thought was just really clever and made the point, right? In the beginning of the debate, he walked over to the two LGBTQ gentlemen and he said, I have a question. And they said, yeah. He says, do you love me and my colleague over here? And they said, yeah, of course. Of course we love you. And he says, okay, but he and I, we view the homosexual lifestyle as sinful. Do you approve of our belief that the homosexual lifestyle is sinful? And they said, well, no, of course not. And
Mhm.
he said, well, you just lost the debate. because you said love requires approval. So how can you love
Right,
us and disapprove
right.
of our, and it was kind of a tongue in cheek kind of thing to do, but
Yes.
that's kind of the whole point, right? Is
Yep.
like, can you, and I of course believe, yes. I mean, I have people on here all the time that disagree with me on every number of topic you can imagine.
Hmm.
I still love them.
Hmm.
And I still, whether they're at my house or we do it through Zoom or whatever, we still leave the conversation as friends
Hmm.
every time. I've yet to have anybody, at least to my face anyway, be like,
Yeah.
I hate you. And no, it's
Yeah.
always very like, look, man, I respect you. I love you. It's great. We're good, good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we disagree on just about everything, but that's okay. We had a great discussion. We
Yeah.
talked about it. We viewed our sides, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't see why we can't all just do that all the time. I don't understand why it has to be, if you believe in this, then I hope you die. It's just, it's like, dude, come on.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah.
When Jesus taught his Sermon on the Mount, he was talking to a crowd. So, like, let's say when he said, "Blessed are the peacemakers," right? Well, his audience was people who are destitute, people who are poor, people who did not have power. Also, Sadducees who had a lot of power
Mm,
and had teamed up with Rome and were better off because of Rome's tyrannical rule. And then the
right,
Pharisees, and then the Essenes were separatists. They had pieced out on society and were living kind of a monk style life in a community out in the desert.
right.
And then the Zealots who were violent. And so Jesus would have had tension with just about all of those people I just named. My point is this: love brings tension. Peacemaking in the Christian
Bingo.
ethic brings tension.
Yes.
It comes with the territory. It always will. Jesus said himself, like, don't think that I came to bring peace. Like, people are going to have a lot of division because of me. And we need to be able to accept that we should be very honorable in how we stand up for what is right, but we still need to stand up for what is right. And we
Yes.
should expect backlash. And then we should
Yes.
handle that backlash very graciously.
Right.
But
Right.
we should expect to not be liked. We should expect to be misunderstood.
Yeah. Well, of course, because the person that we're following wasn't liked either.
Exactly.
Like, what do we
Exactly.
expect? We
Right.
expect to follow in the ways of Jesus and somehow escape wrath, or
Right.
escape the wrath of the,
Man.
yeah, of people. And yeah, exactly. We somehow think that people are going to just to praise us and love us for our views. No,
Yes.
of course not.
Yes.
So yeah, my gosh, dude, that's spot on. I like that. Very, very cool. Um, so are there any other like specific like things that you like specific things that you would say, I lean maybe a little, because you're saying like center right. So I'm like,
Yeah. The
things
things
that kind
that
of put you
make
more in
me,
the center. Yeah.
yeah, the main things that pull me a little bit more to the center have to do with things like immigration and such. But that being said, it's because I'm torn about what the Jesus ethic is in that situation.
Right.
I do believe that we should have strong boundaries. As a pastoral counselor, I'm consistently talking to people about boundaries,
Okay.
about respecting other people's boundaries and setting up healthy personal boundaries for you and communicating boundaries and all that kind of stuff, which is a very needed discussion
Hmm.
and a very tricky one at times.
Right.
So I bring that up to say I understand that our nation needs to have healthy boundaries, literal healthy boundaries. I get that, and I want that.
Sure.
And also, I'm torn though with the Jesus ethic of what it's like to be an immigrant here and to tear up that family. That is very difficult for me.
Yeah.
That's very, very difficult for me.
Right.
And so that type of tension I feel inside pulls me to center.
Okay.
So
I see what you're
although
saying.
I
Yeah.
still vote Republican almost every time,
Right.
but not every time. There's sometimes I'm like, uh, nah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and obviously I think that the vast majority of the country doesn't love Trump. Like they're not like
Right. Yeah.
that guy is just the best example of love and compassion
Uh,
and just all the good things that we want for our family, you know. And I've said before, like I vote for him based on policy and based on
yes.
what the
Yeah.
policy would be if
Policy over person.
right, policy over person, and then also based on the other side that's running against him, and
Yeah.
for the same reasons,
Right.
you know. And when he was running against Kamala Harris, I used the example like I could say I'm not going to vote for Kamala Harris because she's dumb and her laugh is annoying, right? I could say that, and that would be a dumb reason not to vote
Yeah.
for her. That I mean, those things are both true in my opinion, but that's not the right reason to not vote for somebody. But by the
Sure.
same token, I can say, yeah, Trump says mean things sometimes. He's done some things in his past that I definitely don't agree with, and you know, he's obviously
Mhm.
not the prime example of a Christian follower of Christ or whatever you want to call it. Um, but that's not what I'm voting for, right?
Yeah.
I'm voting for what my life is going to be like under one of those two people, right?
Yes.
Because I'm not hanging out with Trump on the weekends. I'm not going on a picnic with him and my family, and he's hanging out with my daughters and my wife, and that's just not going to ever happen.
Hmm.
But what he decides for the country is going to affect my day to day, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what I get concerned about, you know, obviously. But
I'm with
uh,
you.
yeah,
One other thing I'd say about this, one is I think earlier I said I don't like Trump.
yeah.
And I do mean that, but I want to qualify that or explain myself a little bit. I used to think that you couldn't love someone and dislike them at the same time, but I definitely don't think that's true anymore. I think that
Well,
you
you're
can
married,
love.
right? So you should know that could be true.
You can love someone and be like, I do not trust that person.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's what I mean by when I use that phrase, I don't like that. I try not to ever use that phrase unless I'm in a context that I feel like it would be wise to do so.
Yeah.
So when I say I don't like someone, what I'm really saying, and probably the language I need to say more often, is I do not trust that person.
Mm,
And I think it's important for us to differentiate between forgiveness and trust,
mm,
love and trust, and so on and so forth.
sure.
Um, I
Yes.
love, I'll say this, I feel uncomfortable saying it, but I think that it's worth saying.
Mhm.
I love Donald Trump because he's a human.
Yeah.
I do not trust Donald Trump as a human.
Right. No, that's a great point. And kind of and you mentioned forgiveness, and this just made me think of when we were talking before about like the dad in the courtroom who forgives the
Yeah,
rapist of his
yeah,
daughter. Like he could truly love that guy and truly forgive that man.
yes,
But that doesn't mean he's going to be like, and you know what? If you want to take my daughter out
right,
on,
of
you know,
course,
for a little field trip, go for it.
of
No,
course.
because he's never going to trust that guy ever again to be alone with his daughter ever. But he can still love him and forgive him.
Yeah,
So I think that's important what you just said because they definitely need to be separated. They don't always have to go together, right?
yes,
They can go together. You know, you can love and trust somebody at the same time.
exactly.
But
Right. And that would be
yeah,
the hope is that we would have relationships, a lot of relationships where we love them and trust them.
right, right.
Uh, but it's very important for our own souls, for our own sake, that we're cultivating love for everyone
Hmm.
and that we're having healthy personal boundaries of whether or not we trust them. And
Yeah.
if we don't trust them, is our heart open to reconciliation if that's at all possible? And if it's not at all possible because of a certain nature of events, we need to be able to move forward in a way where we're still honorable in the way that we talk about them and
Hmm.
think about
Right. Right. Well, and exactly, right. And that's kind of what I was getting at about even conversations that I have on this podcast
them.
is I watch the news and I watch the reels and I see these things and I see what's happening in certain cities and I'm like, why does it have to be like that?
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, I for one am a very passionate, very opinionated, very strong-willed person. I always have been, I always will be, right? It's just the way I am.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I need to hate somebody that disagrees, right?
Right.
Or that I need to be violent towards them or wish harm on them and their families. And that's why when I hear some of these things coming out, it's like, really? Like, do you really feel that way?
Right.
right? You know, and like, well, like with the whole Charlie Kirk thing, it's probably what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Your friend you're talking about is
Yeah.
struggling with watching what's going on in the media, and it's like, thankfully, that's not the majority. It seems like the majority of even people that didn't like Charlie Kirk or
Mm-hmm.
what he had to say or what he believed are still saying this is terrible that he was killed. It's terrible, you know. But then
Right.
you do have some of those people saying, well, he had it coming. He deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's this, he's that. And it's like,
Yeah.
you
Very,
know, even
very,
if he was that, still, does that mean he should be dead? I
right.
mean, murdered? I mean, come on, you know. So I want to jump back real quick and tell you, get your take on this, kind of back to the deportations. And because I've been asked, like, well, how would I do it? Like, right? Like, what would be the best way to do it? And I'm going to see if you would agree with this or if you would say, no, I would change this or do that. But like the first thing, if I was Ryan's put in charge of the border and, you know, if Trump takes over, he doesn't put what's his face in there, Hegseth or whatever. Hegseth? Is that who's
I,
doing it? Anyway, he doesn't put him, he puts Ryan in there.
mm-hmm.
And so the first thing I do is I close down the border. I make sure that there's no more illegal crossings coming over the border, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bulk that up. Number one. Then I have this issue where now I have all these people here illegally, highly because of the last administration. So now what do I do? Right. So step one is to find all the ones that have felonies, violent criminals, that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
send them back.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Most people at this point are like, yeah, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with, we're all with you on that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then step three is the tricky part because now what you have is a bunch of wonderful people, great families contributing to society. Um, Other than the crime of being here illegally, they
Yes.
have no other blotch on their record.
Yes.
Nothing. They're great. We all know these people, right? We know them.
Yes.
We
We
all
all
have these
do.
people in our
Right.
lives, and it's like, man, that's my friend. That's my,
Yeah.
he's a great dad, great husband. He's a better person than I am, you
Yes.
know? But he's
Yes.
got this blotch on his record that says undocumented, you
Right.
know? So what do we do? Right. So my theory, my plan would be to develop some system, some plan to make them citizens, to make
Mm-hmm.
them legal citizens,
Mm-hmm.
because they're already doing everything a legal citizen does. They're already contributing to society. They're working. They're giving to the economy. They're producing. They're doing stuff. They're being good family, units, whatever. So that's all happening. So I would find some way, right? I don't know how. I don't know what the way would be, because from
Mm-hmm.
what I understand, even the way just to do it to become a legal citizen is not very prompt. It's not very easy. It's very difficult. It needs to be reformed. All that whole thing. But just find some way to do that, and just say, hey, if you want to be, if they say no, we don't want to do all that, then okay, well then you got to go back,
Right.
right? So, but at least you give them the choice, you
I
know.
love it. I
Okay.
if that was an option, I would
Okay.
vote for it for
All
sure.
right. Cool. Good stuff, man.
I had not I guess I kind of have thought of something like that in the back of my head, but not the
Okay.
way that you just articulated. Love it.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Love
All right. So vote for me when I
I
run
will.
for.
Got my vote.
I'll be running on the purple party. No. Um, what's the weather like where you guys are at right now?
Oh, it's good, man. The last couple of days have been very sunny. It's kind of
Okay.
a little cold, of course, but
Okay.
been pretty great.
Yeah, we're pretty warm here right now. I
Are
mean,
you?
warm for us. We're in the mid 80s, which is pretty warm for
Oh,
us. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Dang.
yeah, we're
It is
usually,
cooking here right
yeah.
now.
Were you guys like in the 60s?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
50s,
Okay.
60s.
Ugh, terrible. Um, man. Spirituality, obviously, we've got covered some of that. You grow up in the church. You kind of had your moment where your faith became your own,
Mhm,
which is important. I always ask Christians on here that were raised in the church, like, is there a moment where like it became your own? Like,
mhm, yeah,
like you didn't get saved the moment your parents decided to take you to church, right? So I mean, there
right.
had to be a
Mhm.
moment where that
Yeah.
happened for you. How old were you when you said that happened?
It was the summer before my sophomore year in high school, so I must have been right around 15, 16.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go from there then. Just kind of
Okay.
tell me like how did that get you to where you were a pastor?
Yeah.
So do you still pastor at all? Or I mean you do pastoral counseling, but do you
Yeah. So no, I don't pastor in the traditional sense of
okay. You don't
the
preach anymore or anything?
no. I mean
Okay.
sometimes I do because I'll teach marriage seminars or whatever, and
Mm,
I'll preach at those. Um, or marriage retreats,
okay.
that type of thing.
Okay.
Um, so after I gave my life to Christ that summer, I committed myself to going to church, to youth group and such.
Hmm.
And then eventually, I think it was the end, yeah, spring of my junior year in high school, spring break, my pastor came up to me, like the lead pastor of our church, said, "Hey, I was praying. I'm taking a trip down to San Dimas to this Bible college, and I'm taking a group from our church to go visit it. People who are interested in going to that school. I was praying about it, and I sensed that I was supposed to invite you to come."
Mm,
And I'd never talked to him before like this. Like we had smiled at each other and stuff, but
right.
he didn't really know me.
Okay.
So I was very taken aback by that. And he said, "We're gonna go to Disneyland and Magic Mountain." And I said, "I'll go. I'll go."
You're like sold.
Yeah, all right.
What's this about a Bible college? But wait,
Yeah, exactly.
Disneyland?
Yeah.
Magic Mountain?
So kind of a classic story. I've heard other people say that they've had the same experience that went to Bible college. We went there, we did the parks, having a
Mhm.
great time. We got to the school, and as soon as I stepped out of the van and my feet touched the parking lot, boom, instant. And I've never had this since,
Mhm.
never had it before. This is the only time this has ever happened in my life. I knew instantaneously, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to go here for 4 years and then go into the ministry. What the heck? It was crazy. And it
That's
wasn't
awesome.
emotional. It wasn't like an emotional experience. It was just
Right.
a knowingness experience, I guess.
Yeah.
And so long story short, I went there for 4 years, graduated, and became a youth pastor out in Michigan, which is where I met my wife.
Michigan, the state of Michigan?
The state of Michigan, didn't know where it was on the map.
Why would you go there?
Exactly. So what happened was my senior year of college, it was I was, clueless. They started telling us when I was an upperclassman, like, hey, just remember, like, be be intentional with your relationships, with your connections, because
Hmm.
once you graduate, like, we're not going to just give you a job. And this was news to me. I had never considered that. So back up to when I was a junior at the Bible college and they start saying things like this, I was like, it dawned on me like, oh, they don't just give you a position when you graduate? Like, I guess I had to be like, duh, why was I assuming that?
Yeah.
But I guess I was. And so it got to close to Christmas time my senior year, and I still didn't have any plans. But two things happened at the same time. My uncle, who at that time was overseeing Eastern Europe for the denomination,
Mm.
contacted me from London and said, "Hey, I heard you're going to be graduating soon. I wanted to see if you would would be interested in flying out to London when you graduate. I'll apprentice you for 2 years, and then I will help you pastor a church
Wow.
and get you started." And then,
In London.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
or somewhere in Eastern Europe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, uh, he said, "You can dye your hair any color you want, and you can pierce anything you want."
Ooh.
Yeah. So because he knew
Wow.
me enough to know that that would be a selling point for me.
Right. Right.
And when I told my friends this, they were just like, "What?" Some of them were mad, and I could understand that,
Yeah.
because of what's the word, nepotism or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know if that applies to this. But you know, the idea of like, oh, because your uncle's this big wig, you get all these opportunities.
Yeah.
Well, meanwhile, a um a pastor from Michigan was visiting his two daughters that went to that school, and he was looking for a youth pastor, and they had said you should talk to Luke. And so long story short, he said, I want you to pray about coming up to Michigan and being my youth pastor.
Wow.
Like I said, I didn't know where Michigan was on the map.
Yeah.
In my mind, when the word Michigan was spoke to my ears, what came to my mind was a bearded man in a flannel shirt holding a gun. That's what came to my mind. I'm not kidding. I'm not sure why, but that's what came to my mind with a bunch of trees behind him.
Right.
And that man is my father-in-law now.
Okay. There you go. Nice. I love it. Is that really
Uh,
what he looks like? Did he look like that when you met him?
what's that?
Did he look like that when you met him?
Kind of.
Okay.
Kind of, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, he does fit that description, and he does hunt, and
Okay.
yeah. So anyhow, um, as you can see, I went to Michigan instead of London because I prayed
Yes.
about it, and I was really wrestling in prayer, like, Lord, I don't know. I don't know. And I had just got over this horrible experience of thinking that God told me that I was supposed to marry a certain girl from the Bible college. I
Mm.
know. Put a big L on my forehead, dude. Oh my freaking gosh. So I was like the laughing stock of the school for a little while. I'm not kidding. It was painful. It was really, really hard. So I was not keen on the idea of trying to listen to God and then think I heard his voice. I just gone through that crap.
Mhm.
Um, but it came down. I was now in Vancouver. I was home on Christmas break, and it came down to the wire to the day that I had to make a decision. I got up. I did my devotions, and I was doing some devotional. I don't remember if it was my utmost for his highest or something,
Mm.
where I read about Abraham leaving his country to go to a country he'd never been before. And as soon as I read that, I just had this another kind of a more minor knowingness, of like, oh gosh, I think I'm supposed to go to Michigan. And so I called up my uncle. I said, sorry, to deny this great opportunity. Thank you so much, but I have to say no. And I called up the pastor. Anyways, several people from the Bible college warned me, Luke, don't do this.
Don't go to Michigan?
Don't do this
Okay.
because they knew that pastor.
Oh.
Yeah. And one professor in particular pulled me aside and said, I know this pastor. I know people who have been chewed up and spit out,
Mm.
leaving this school and going to work under him. But I was in a weird spot, like, but I think God told me to. So I'll try to make this a shorter version than usual.
Yeah.
I go out there and everything was fine at first. Um, but well, actually, let me tell this story first.
Yeah.
So I'm there for a couple months. I don't know anything about being a youth pastor. Nothing. I didn't take a single class in Bible college about being in youth ministry or
Okay.
youth ministry. I never was a youth leader at a youth group. I was a teenager that went to a youth group at one time. That was my only experience.
So when you were studying at the Bible college, were you in your own head anyway, were you thinking that you were going to be like just a normal pastor of a church
I had
or
no idea.
okay,
I had no idea. I took the pastoral track instead of the youth pastor track, but
gotcha.
I had no clue if I would actually be. I have no idea.
Yeah.
All I knew was that I was supposed to go here for 4 years and go to.
Okay.
Anyways, so here I am, zero training, and that pastor's particular background was Navy. He fought in war and traveled the world a couple times in the
Mm.
Navy and was a Navy recruiter. And he acted like it
Mm.
in the sense of a person that's used to having control and a person who's used to giving orders and having those obeyed.
Right.
And that's a great thing
Yeah.
in the right context.
Right. Right. Exactly.
um, in the context of leading a team of young people to pastor people, it was a rough context. It was a very, very painful experience.
Mm.
I never felt like I measured up. And his style, I think, I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional. His style was to make sure that you felt kind of like crap so that you'd rise to the occasion.
Right.
And, and that works in the military.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. We've all seen Forrest Gump.
Yeah, exactly. Something bit me.
Yeah.
It doesn't work all that great when you're a 23-year-old kid who's in, alternative grunge bands that, you know,
Hmm.
is
Yeah.
sensitive and
Who wants to
passionate.
dye his hair purple and get piercings?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I mean, it was like worlds colliding from the get-go. He bought me a suit with the church's money that's like super, really lame navy blue suit and expected me to wear it. I wore it one time. I'm like, I can't do this.
As a youth pastor, he wanted you to wear
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. When I preached, he wanted me to, like, if I preached on a Sunday,
Oh, okay.
like on a Sunday night,
Right, right.
because he never had me preach on a Sunday morning, but he had me
Yeah.
preach Sunday nights to the adults and
Okay.
wanted me to wear the suit. I'm like, anyway, so you can kind of see where this is going.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, but I will forever be grateful for him for several things, actually. But for the main thing is one day he woke my roommate and I. My roommate was the children's pastor guy. And he woke us up at like 8 in the morning on a Saturday, knocked on our door because we lived in the church annex, which was next door to the church.
Okay.
And the church offices were above our bedroom, basically.
Okay.
He knocked on our door 8 in the morning. Get out of bed, you guys. Get in my car. We're gonna go have a staff breakfast. Come on. Don't shower. No, 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 don't brush your teeth. Come on, we're going. Okay. So we roll out of bed. We're just, in shorts and t-shirt. We get in his car. We go out to eat breakfast and have this conversation. And I don't remember what we talked about or anything. But on the way back, he said, "Okay, now we're gonna talk. We're gonna stop over at this girl's work. Her name's Harmony, and she hasn't been to church in a long time. And we're gonna try to get back to church. Luke, you're the bait." No kidding. That's how he talked, and that's what he said.
Oh
And
my gosh, dude.
we pull up into this like insurance building a Saturday late morning, and there's this beat up Volkswagen burgundy Rabbit in the parking lot with a Pennywise sticker on the back of it.
Nice.
And it's like, oh, man, whoever owns that guy's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And we walk in, and the secretary is just drop dead gorgeous with light shining down from heaven upon her. And Pastor is like, "Oh, Harmony, good to see you. You having a good day? Da, 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 da. Hey, we'd really like you to come back to church. And hey, this is our new youth pastor. Really want you to meet him." And so he introduces us.
Nice.
I remember what I'm wearing. She remembers this moment too. I was
Okay.
wearing my Starflyer 59 shirt
Nice.
with these corduroy shorts
Yeah.
and my what was the name of those shoes? They didn't last very long, but not Skechers. It was before Skechers. They were way cooler. I don't know. Anyway, these super cool shoes.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's what I was wearing. Haven't brushed my teeth, haven't showered. Anyway, and I'm like, "Hey, it's really nice to meet you. You are an angel." I don't say that, but that's what's going on in my mind. I'm like, "Hi," and I shake her hand.
Nice.
So she comes to church though.
Okay, like
And
that following Sunday?
I think she came that following Sunday, but she came that following Sunday night or whenever we did our young adults, because I was not only youth pastor, but I was the worship leader for the young adults ministry.
Mm.
So I'm leading worship. She shows up to that for the first time.
Okay.
We're in this big circle. There's like 20, 25 of us, maybe 30 of us in the basement of the pastor's house. And I'm leading worship, and you do the worship pastor thing or weird thing where you have your eyes closed and you're sincerely singing to God. But then
Right.
you open your eyes and you scan the room just to see how things are, get the pulse of the room,
Hmm.
see how things going, if you need to shift things up or wrap things up or whatever. Everyone has their eyes closed and everyone's doing the worship sway and
Yeah.
just singing, except for the new girl, Harmony. She has her eyes locked in on me and she's just smiling, not singing. And so when my eyes meet hers, she closes her eyes and puts her heads down and starts to sing.
Nice.
And like in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's kind of something. And then I go to the next song and I'm worshiping God again. I scan the room again, same thing happens.
Okay.
And now I'm not worshiping. I'm singing the lyrics and I'm strumming the guitar, but in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, she might actually be interested in me, this angel from heaven.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? So after the night gets over and pastor wraps up the night in prayer and people are mingling and stuff, this one guy's talking to me. He's like, hey man, I'd really like to get a guitar lesson from you. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. And this new girl, Harmony, walks up and says, you give guitar lessons?
Oh, she saw the
Dude, Ryan,
door.
I never talked to this guy again. I never remember ever having a conversation with him ever again. I, I locked eyes. I'm like, I would love to give you a guitar lesson. Let's talk about guitar all night long. I mean, every
Oh
day for the rest of
man.
our lives.
That's so
That's what I
funny.
said in my head. On the outside, I'm like, yeah, let's set that up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. All cool about it.
yeah. And then I said, hey, yeah, I saw that Pennywise sticker. Like, hey, so you're into the punk and stuff. She's like, yeah. And she told me some of the bands that she's into Bad Religion and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I have this stack of CDs I want to let you borrow. So that night I gave her this stack of CDs, MXPX and
Hmm.
Plank Eye and
Yeah.
Blenderhead and so on and so forth. She came home. She was living with her boyfriend. She came home and her boyfriend knew exactly what was going on.
Oh, really?
What's up with these CDs? What is this? Like, oh, some guy from the church let me. I don't want you seeing that guy. Anyways, you can see where this story's
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
So she said that I want to be careful because she has her own stories that need to be told by her, but I think
Right.
she'd be okay
Right.
with me saying that it was painful, very painful for her to leave that relationship. There
Okay.
was manipulation involved and some
Yeah.
power dynamics, and it
Sure.
was extremely difficult for her to leave that relationship. But she did, and that was instrumental, not for our relationship. This is
Hmm.
for her relationship with Christ, because and this is what we found out on our honeymoon. Literally on our honeymoon, we were talking about uh, this topic came up. I said, hey, and this would have been December of 1995. I said,
Mm.
hey, so this last um, year in December, I was praying about what to do, whether I should go to Europe or to Michigan. And I had this sense I was supposed to come to Michigan. She said, December of 95. She goes, that was the same month that I had been with this boyfriend for 3 years
Mm.
and fallen away from my faith because of this relationship.
Right.
And I had this moment where I had prayed to God and I had rededicated my life to Him, but I was still living with my boyfriend.
Hmm.
And I had this sense that the
You're good, man.
it's emotional for me to talk about it.
Yeah, you're good, man.
Um, she said, I had this sense that God was speaking to my inner person and saying, Harmony, you've given your life back to me. And you can live this life with your boyfriend and it's going to be okay, but you're going to miss out on everything
Mm.
I ever had for you.
Yeah.
Now, that story makes me sound like the knight in shining armor, but it's not the case.
Yeah.
It's not the case because what happened next was Harmony, as she left him and she started to establish a relationship with Christ. I was this knucklehead youth pastor that didn't know what he was doing, and the pastor was pretty mad at me. He was frustrated because the youth group wasn't growing. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
The youth group was shrinking actually.
Mm.
And one day, this girl came to the youth group that had blue hair, and she gave her life to Jesus. It was the first person that I ever had the privilege of having some kind of influence of
Right.
helping her to know Christ.
Right. Right.
And the next day, the pastor pulled me into his office and said, hey, look, I heard that girl with blue hair gave her life to Jesus last night. And what are you doing? I'm not kidding. He said these words. What are you doing reaching out to the scum of the earth?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding?
No, no, those are the literal words he said. He
Would
said,
you
I
you
want you
should
going to the high school and you need to be connecting with the captain of the football team. And once he gives his life to Christ, the whole school will come. And
I would have attempted to introduce that man to Jesus and say, "Well,
right.
Jesus, sir, look at the kind of people Jesus
Yeah,
was reaching in the
exactly.
scriptures. That you talk about
Yeah,
scum of the earth,
right.
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. So obviously this pastor had some disconnections in his soul and
right,
theology.
right.
And that plays into later in my story. But back then, I'm 23 years old, scratching my head, going, well, am I doing something wrong? I'm doing something wrong because the youth group's not growing. But I think it's a good thing when anyone gives their life to Jesus,
Yeah, of
regardless of their social status or whatever.
course,
Right.
of
So I was
course.
confused. Um, but there was other things that were happening too that, we were just from two different planets.
Hmm.
So the day that Harmony and I started making out,
Mm,
and I knew that like I'm making out with my girlfriend and I'm the youth pastor. There's a disconnect in me
sure.
with you know, my morals and what I'm preaching. So I sat in the car with Harmony one day. I said, I need to tell the pastor about this. She's like, you need to do what? I said, well, my whole life I've always had a relationship with my pastors where I just tell them whatever
Yeah,
and they love me. And
yeah,
she says, okay, you pray about this. If you sense you're supposed to do this, do it. So
right.
okay, I prayed about it and I sensed that I was supposed to do it. And to this day, I still think that that was the right decision. But what happened was I knocked on the pastor's door one night and said, hey, can we talk? And he said, yeah, come on in. So we had a
Yeah.
conversation and I said, hey, Harmony and I have been making out and I just feel really
Mm,
bad about that. And I just want some accountability and just wanted to confess this. And he said, thank you for telling me. Promise me that we'll do this together. Like, okay, sure. And then he prayed for me, and then I went back to my place. The next morning, he knocked on my door. Luke, come on upstairs to the church office. I called an emergency council meeting, the church council, which like the
I'm
board.
sorry. Whenever you do this guy's voice,
Yeah.
he sounds drunk. He sounds like somebody's like drunk uncle at Thanksgiving, you know? Did I ever tell you about the time where
No, he wasn't drunk.
Okay.
But anyway, kind of like this gruff, like,
Yeah, I gotcha.
yeah. So
All right.
come upstairs, and
Mhm.
I just told the council what you told me last night, and we're debating on whether or not we're going to fire you and what we're going to do with you.
Yeah.
So I walk
Wow.
upstairs and
Wow.
I walk in, and there's like 7 people in his office that he had just, disclosed what I told him in secret last night or in confidentiality. And I can tell on their faces, they're all trying to figure out what to do with, they're in a weird spot.
Right.
So again, long story short, they decide to fire me. Now I was working part-time at the church and part-time at Arby's. By the way, Harmony and I
Nice.
were engaged at this time. So she wasn't just my girlfriend, she was my fiance.
Oh, so you're making out with your fiance.
I was making out with my fiance.
Okay, gotcha.
So, um, so they fire me and they say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you a 2-year restoration process. So, and I'm like, okay. So for the next 2 years, I'm getting married here in a couple months. For the next 2 years, I'm going to be working at Arby's full time. I'll ask my manager if I can get a full time position,
Hmm.
and making 575 an hour.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
how I'll start my marriage. And then after 2 years, you'll restore me into being a pastor again, maybe. And like,
Right.
yeah. And they said also we want you to volunteer at the church for 15 hours a week.
Of unpaid work.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, wait. So I'm going to work 40 hours at Arby's a week, and then I'm going to volunteer 15 hours. So I'm going to be working 55 hours, but only making 575 for 40 of those hours. And that's how I'm
Right.
going to start my first 2 years of marriage. And I said it
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
And they said yes. And I said, well, can I please have time to consider this? And they
Yeah.
said yes. So I walked out. The next 2 weeks of my life, I was completely numb. I was
Mm.
like numb to the world. But what happened was the next Sunday, it was like that was like a Friday, Thursday or Friday or something like that. That Sunday, he called me up in front of the whole church. And then he told the whole church what I had told him.
What?
Yeah, publicly made a declaration to the whole church.
Wow, dude.
Yeah. And so now not only was I humiliated, but Harmony, who had just come back to church and gave her life to Christ,
Hmm.
she's now got this big A on her sweater, right?
Right. Right. For
Right.
the crime of making out with her fiance.
Exactly, exactly.
Right. Right.
So, and then he called my future in-laws into his house and told them everything that I had told him and
Which
company.
they probably already knew that, right?
They didn't actually.
Okay. Okay.
Um, Harmony and I were gonna talk to them, but
Yeah.
uh, and then one day in the church office, he walked by me and said, "Hey, now I know why I've been having all these violent thoughts towards you the last couple months." I was like, "What?" It's like, "Well, the last few months before you told me all this, I've been having these violent thoughts towards you. And I didn't know why, but now I know why."
Yeah.
And then he said, "And also, I've talked to the district supervisor, and they're debating on pulling your license. You might not ever be able to be a pastor again."
Are
And he
you
walked.
kidding?
No, I don't know if that conversation ever happened, but that's what he said.
Man, this guy's got kind of a hierarchy complex a little bit, I
Yeah,
think here.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. But I didn't. At 23, I didn't understand all this.
Sure.
So I talked to a few people from the West Coast, at the college, at the former church, the church I grew up in, and everyone's
Mhm.
like, "You need to get out of there.
Yeah.
This is really bad, like lawsuit stuff, spiritual
Yeah.
abuse. You need to get out of there." So I came into the office one day, the pastor's office, after a couple of weeks, and I said, "I've decided not to accept your offer for the restoration process."
Hmm.
And he said, "Oh, that's too bad because we were just going to restore you after a couple months anyway." It's like,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
And so he officiated our wedding.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay. So you still had a somewhat decent relationship with him.
no, but and it's not that I hated him or anything, but I was
Sure.
numb. I was like numb, and I was numb to the world. I didn't know he
Yeah.
was. It was already lined up that he was going to officiate our wedding,
Right. Right.
and we were in love. Harmony's like, even though all this is going on, she's like on cloud nine because we're about to get married.
Sure.
We have a
Sure.
beautiful ceremony. It was a beautiful day. The
Hmm.
pastor was a nervous wreck during the ceremony. And, of course he was, because he knows deep down inside that he's not doing the right thing the
Right.
way he's treating me, right?
Right.
We get married, we go on our honeymoon, life goes on. And then for the next 8 years, I go into a slow downward spiral mentally and
Mm.
emotionally and spiritually.
Oh boy.
I I went out, we moved to the West Coast. We moved to Vancouver, and
Hmm.
I worked at US Bank as a bill collector for 3 years. And that was a journey in and of itself.
Yeah.
Um, but I eventually became a youth pastor again. And but after 8 years, I had a total nervous breakdown.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah. And
While you're a youth pastor or before?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, wow. And by that time, we had 4 children at that time. So we had just had our fourth child. And so I'm not sleeping.
Hmm.
But the lead up to this 8 year mark was this inner turmoil of me wanting to know why I got treated like this. Why did this pastor treat me this? What did I do wrong
Hmm.
that made him treat me this way?
Which goes into the guilt thing you were talking about before.
Totally, totally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, and meanwhile, I'm doing the best I can to prove myself as a youth pastor,
Hmm.
as a natural reaction to getting fired and publicly humiliated. I wanted to prove that I could do this. Oh, by the way, the day of our wedding, the moments before we went out and did the wedding, he brought my brother and I, my best man, my brother and I into his office. He talked to my brother, who was a youth pastor at the time. He talked about they like chummed it up. My brother didn't, he didn't know what was up. He didn't know all these details, but
Yeah.
chummed it up with my brother, like, oh, sounds like you're an awesome youth pastor. Now your brother here, he should never be a youth pastor again.
Wow.
And they said, let's pray, let's go do your wedding. And that was the last thing he said to me.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, and so now, 8 years later, not only am I having this turmoil, well, and by the way, not sleeping and all that kind of stuff. Well, my physical body started to manifest what's going on in my spirit. So I started to shut down. And
Yeah.
so in the lead up to my nervous breakdown, I went to several doctor's appointments that have them test me for cancer, for diabetes, and for AIDS.
Because of the physical symptoms you were having?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because in my mind, I must be dying
Yeah.
because the physical symptom. And they all said the same thing. You don't have cancer. You don't have diabetes. You certainly don't have AIDS. You've never done anything to
Right.
get AIDS.
Right. Right.
My wife was like, why are you having them test you for AIDS? But what was happening was they would all say the same thing. Mr. Haynes, you are depressed and anxious.
Right.
Like, I'm not depressed and anxious. I'm dying.
Yeah. Yep.
Because it would have been better to hear that I was terminally ill
Yes.
than
Yes.
to admit that I was mentally,
Yes. See,
right?
I've been there, done that. I mean, I think we've talked about it,
Yes,
but
we have.
I've struggled with depression, anxiety, and that's exactly the truth because
Yes.
you don't want to hear that because first of all, it makes it sound like it's all in your head.
Yes.
But you're like, what do you mean? No, it's not. I've got these physical symptoms. I got these things going on. And they're like, no, anxiety can cause physical symptoms.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, but you don't understand. These are like real physical symptoms.
Yeah, right.
And they're like, no, we know. And it's like, it just took so long for me to be like, oh, you do understand what I'm saying. And you're saying it is still anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
Like it took forever for me to grasp that.
Yes. You know the drill.
Yeah.
So by the time we had our fourth child, and now I'm really not sleeping, my body said enough. Now, also in the lead up to this, without going into scary details, I was not doing okay in my mind towards this pastor. It basically came down to the point where it was like either he's got to go or I got to go or both of us got to go.
Wow.
And but
wait,
I
hold
knew
on.
that,
Hold on. At this point, though, you're living in Washington
yeah,
and he's still in Michigan,
yeah.
and you're
But
not
in
even
my
really
imagination,
okay. I was gonna
I
say
can
you're
get
not
on
even
a
really
plane.
talking to him at all,
No.
but you have this thing in
Oh,
your
yeah.
head that's still there. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So, and plans are starting to form in my imagination, which obviously is very, very concerning.
Yes.
And I know I can't do any of that. That goes against the grain of everything I believe in. And so my system said, well, we're going to just shut down completely. And I couldn't get out of bed. I was in the hospital several times with massive panic attacks.
Yeah.
Waking up in the middle of the night, just, with the massive chest pains and you can't breathe. And
Yeah.
Army's calling 911. They're rushing to the hospital. And they're like,
You think you're having a heart attack?
yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I couldn't get out of bed for a month, ended up in a counselor's office for the first time and finally admitted I'm depressed and stressed out of my mind, anxiety through the roof.
Right.
And that was the beginning of a new me.
Yeah.
I was completely broken and got rebuilt. And it took a long time, but only 7 sessions with that counselor because that's all my insurance would pay for.
Nice.
But we did this prayer exercise, a prayer exercise that I've now facilitated as a pastoral counselor many times and others similar to it. But we did this prayer exercise where I relived that whole situation with the pastor and then invited the Holy Spirit to speak into that moment. And I sensed that the Lord was saying, forgive him.
Yeah.
And I had tried so hard to forgive him for 8 years. But because of the things that the counselor and I worked through, including seeing him as a broken person, him as a hurting person, hurt people, and seeing him with compassion and pity and mercy rather than hate. And, because healthy people do not treat another human like this.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's not about me at all. It's about what's going on in him.
Right.
And so we did all that work. And so now when we're in this prayer exercise, I now have that new perspective. and I have this moment where I just release this pastor from my judgment.
Mm,
And it was one of the most freeing experiences of my life.
I bet. Yeah.
And then that 4th of July, 4th of July, 2007. It's either 2006 or 2000. Must have, yeah, 4th of July, 2007. It's now been 5 months-ish since my nervous breakdown. I'm at a family event and I'm playing badminton with my uncle that had invited me out to Europe.
Oh, okay.
And he's now overseeing the Great Lakes District.
Okay.
We're playing badminton. He knows some of my story with what happened with the pastor, but not all of it. And right in the middle of the badminton game, he goes, "Hey, I spent a day with Pastor so and so out in Detroit."
Hmm.
And I put my racket down. I said, "Okay." He said, "Yeah." He's telling me all the things that the Lord's doing in the church in Detroit and such. And then out of nowhere, he suddenly says, "I did not handle Luke well."
That,
And I got the sense that he wanted me to
mm,
tell you that. Now,
mm,
if that would have happened, if that conversation with my uncle would have happened before my nervous breakdown
yeah.
and the rebuilding, I would have been like, you know what? He can buy a plane ticket to PDX and get a taxi because they didn't have Ubers back then. Get a taxi to my house. He can knock on my door and he can tell me that himself.
Right.
But now that I was in a position where I had forgiven him and I
Mhm.
actually wanted good things for him,
Yeah. Yeah.
tears welled up in my eyes because I was so happy for him that
Right.
he could admit that to somebody.
Yeah.
And
Well, because he probably had the same experience you did, where he had to get past his issues too,
yes,
right? For
yes,
the way he treated you and the way it all
yes,
went down, he was probably
exactly.
having inner turmoil
Right.
because of it as well.
Yes. And then years later, when I found out that he had Parkinson's, I cried
Mm,
healthy, mournful tears. And then when I found out that he died,
mm,
I cried like such beautiful, mournful, grieving tears. And I was
yeah.
so happy that he was in heaven. And I was so happy that one day I would meet him there
Yeah.
and that we would be able to embrace with like pure love and nothing in between us whatsoever.
Hmm.
And that was one of the most important moments of my entire life.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome because most people wouldn't view it that way. They would view that as people that didn't have the restoration that you experienced through that would say, that's one of the worst experiences of my life. I never want to talk about it. I hate that guy, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm. And
Right.
that is how I felt a lot until I had my nervous breakdown.
Right.
My breakdown was one of the most important moments of my life.
Yeah. Okay. So isn't that crazy? The only people I ever hear say stuff like that are Christians,
Mm,
where they can take something that just on a physical, emotional, mental level
mhm.
is not a quote unquote good thing. It's a terrible thing. It's such a hard thing to go through.
Yes.
But the only people I ever hear say, and that was one of the best moments of my life.
Mhm.
When I was at my lowest, that was one of the best moments of my life.
Yes.
Only Christians say that
Mhm.
because they have to be that low in order to be restored and to experience that peace of God and that relationship with the Lord that you would have never got to if it wasn't for that terrible experience that you see as a good experience now because of where it led you, right?
Absolutely.
That's so awesome.
And this
Yeah.
is a theme of our Lord.
Right.
We see it in the story of Joseph in the
Hmm.
book of Genesis with his brothers. And we see it with the Apostle Paul when he was Saul and he had to be blinded and then so that he could see,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's a common thread throughout the history of humankind of God bringing people to their wits' end so that they can be rebuilt in a very beautiful way,
Yeah.
you know, bringing beauty from ashes.
Right. Right. Wow, man. Oof.
Mm.
I almost feel like I want to end there, but I don't because I want to ask you a few other things.
Yeah, go ahead.
But that would be a beautiful ending to the discussion. But oh, where do I want to go now? But something I like to ask believers when I have, because as you know, I don't only have Christians on here. I have people from all different walks of life and beliefs. But when I have a fellow Christian on here, I like to kind of play devil's advocate in a sense and just kind of ask you like if I was a non-believer and let's say I was seeking and I was just trying to find I'm bombarded with all these different religious belief systems and this religion and that, and even within all the religious system, there's all these different denominations and things and all this stuff going on. And I was to ask you, because I knew you were a Christian, and I would say, well, Luke, why Christianity? Why do you choose that one
Mm-hmm.
above all the other ones? And you say that this is the one that's correct, this is the one that's right, and not the other ones. So like
Yeah,
how would you answer that?
yeah. The story of Christianity, in my estimation, tells the best story.
Mm,
So if humans naturally are bent towards identifying with story, narrative, story, mythology, or what have you, is such an important part of our soul. Why is that? Why do
mhm.
we watch so many shows on TV and go to the movies and all that kind of stuff and read books and all that? Why do we
Right.
resonate with songs that tell stories and all that? Story is woven into the experience of humankind.
Yeah.
Well, you look at the story of Christianity, God becomes one of us.
Hmm.
It tells the best story. It tells the story of God creating us out of love, but we fall short of his glory. And so he sacrifices himself. He becomes one of us, sacrifices himself to pave the way for us to know him. Now, of course, there's all sorts of things that people would push back on that and dismiss and laugh at and all that kind of stuff. But that is my answer to that question.
Okay. Um, that's a good answer. That's actually, I don't know if you're familiar with Greg Kokel.
No.
Stand to Reason is his ministry. He has a couple podcasts and stuff. He's written what's that book? He's got a book that's really popular. Tactics.
Hmm.
He's kind of an apologist. He's got a lot of book, but anyway, his whole thing is Christianity um, gives the best explanation for our world. Is basically what he says. He's like it gives the best out of all the religious systems and all the belief systems. It gives the best kind of you know reasons. Well, why am I here? What am I here for? Who am I? He says it answers all those. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of a good way to say it. Um, what kind of issues do you see, if any, within, let's just say, American Christianity, since we live in America?
Yeah, the issues that concern me.
Yeah.
Um, the because of my vocation, where I'm regularly trying to help people in their story have a healthier relationship with themselves, healthier relationship with God, healthier relationship with their bodies and with one another. Our version of worship with songs concerns me sometimes. Um,
Mm,
and the reason why is because unintentionally, I think at times we are training Christians for a hype experience, an emotional experience. And there's nothing wrong with having our emotions heightened while singing to the Lord,
mhm.
certainly. I've had many very, very special, intimate moments with the Lord in experiences like that. But it does something to our limbic system, um, where we need a next high. And if we're not experiencing that high, similar to needing to take more drugs or have a different version of pornography or whatever the case is,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Um, so although I'm not comparing worship to those that darkness, what I'm saying is I do get concerned sometimes that Christians need to have a balanced approach to worship where sometimes it's very, very quiet and there's not a lot of hype. And then other times we get to celebrate very loudly with a lot of drums and bass and guitar or what have you.
Sure. Sure.
And that it's not that we're not unintentionally training Christians that our worship experience is supposed to feel a certain way.
Hmm.
because worship often feels bad.
Yeah.
You read the Psalms, I mean, so many of the psalmist was not feeling good.
It's right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So we have to be careful with that, I think.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I'm with you, and I'm glad you brought this up because worship services is both something that I'm fascinated by and I have a lot of opinions on, but at the same time, I tend not to talk about it with people very much because they're very protective
Mhm.
of the way that they worship, and it's very important to them. And if anybody asks questions about it or says, "Hey, why do you do this?" or what do you think about this?" they get very defensive.
Mm.
Um, but I was just having a conversation either yesterday or the day before with someone about certain songs that like that kind of have a build, you know? I think the song we were talking about is Build My Life. Are you familiar with that one?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And so as it gets towards the end, it just
Yeah.
you kind of start repeating the same words and then the drums
Yeah. Yep. The song builder.
yeah, it just builds up, builds up, builds up, builds up. And I'm a people watcher at church, which I shouldn't be because I should be worshiping God and not focus on other people, but that's true confession for me. But I mean, I'm watching and because honestly, because I find it fascinating. I really
Yeah.
do. I'm not trying to be judgmental and say, oh, look at that idiot over there. I'm trying to be like, it's really is fascinating to me. But as those drums build, you start to see like all around more and more people, boom, boom. Yeah, they get higher and higher and higher. And then by the time the drums fully kick in, it's just like, woo,
Yeah.
and it's like, to me, it's no different than when you listen to like the beginning of like Enter Sandman, right? And there's that whole part where the drums and the guitar aren't quite synced up, but they sound awesome. And then as soon as it all drops in together, you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's moving, it's exciting, it's awesome. It's an emotional experience either way, right? So the skeptic in me and just the curiosity in me always says, what is that? Is that really the moving of the Holy Spirit?
Sure.
Or, I mean, because I could say the same thing for when I listen to Enter Sandman. I mean, is that the moving of the Holy Spirit? And people say, well, no, Ryan, of course it's not because that's Metallica. And these other songs over here are singing about Jesus. I'm like, okay, so even though the same emotional experience is taking place,
Yes.
the difference is the words that are being sung
Right.
are what makes it worship over not worship. And I'm just like, I find that really, really interesting personally. I mean, I am that guy that I'm kind of like, oh, what's going on over here? Like really, like what are you doing? I've said before, just once I want to see somebody do something that no one else has ever done. I want to
Yeah.
see somebody like doing backwards somersaults, like down this is how I worship the Lord, because he didn't get that from all the people around him. It's just because we just kind of learn, okay, what do we do in the song? Oh,
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 we
oh,
lift
we
our
do this.
hands.
Okay, this is
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, I come across a lot of like people get very upset with me, let me say. Even when I say what
Yeah.
I just said, because
Yeah.
because if it's somebody who is that person
Sure.
who's doing this as the build
Yeah.
and to them that's them worshiping God and they're like, oh no,
Sure.
this is my way I worship, and I'm like, and I question it. They take it like personal offense to it, and it's like, I said,
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I'm not trying to say like you're going to go to hell if you do that. I'm just saying,
And nor are you saying that their worship is inauthentic, but you
right,
are wanting to make sure that they question,
right,
is it inauthentic?
yes, and
Yeah.
it's only because I question myself.
Hmm.
Right. And this is probably just kind of the punk rock in me coming out, but and
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is right. I'm just saying this is me.
Yeah.
Right or wrong, this is me. I have a hard time doing something simply because somebody in the church told me to do it.
Hmm.
Right. Like we have this thing at our church where, and I love the pastor to death. He's awesome. But they do this thing where they're like, okay, I want everybody. He calls it a benediction, I think, and he
Hmm.
kind of he reads something in scripture. He goes, I want everybody to kind of put your hands out in
Hmm.
a stance of reception
Yeah,
or
we do
whatever.
that too.
Okay, right. And I cannot find anything necessarily wrong with it,
Sure.
right? It's not wrong necessarily, but I'm like, I'm only doing this because he's telling me to do it. I'm not doing this because the Holy Spirit is moving on my heart to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then I get all caught up in my own mind, and people say, Ryan, you think too much. You do way too much thinking, which is probably true.
Well, actually, there's a part of it that's healthy because you don't want to just give into group think. We all know what group think can do.
Bingo.
And then you drink the Kool-Aid, right?
That's
so
right.
we have to be really careful that on one hand, we're not just giving into groupthink and just being dumb sheep following a false shepherd or a shepherd who means well but is leading astray or something to that nature, or doing something just out of rote and instead of something authentic and real from inside of us. And on the other hand, we do want to participate together in community worship.
Right.
We're all doing something together.
Sure.
But so, yeah, there's a balance to be found, and we all need to be weighing our motives. Motives is a very important thing. It's Sermon on the Mount. Oh my gosh. I mean, you read the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus is very concerned about motives.
Right.
What's happening inside of a person is what matters, right?
Yeah.
So, because if you commit adultery, but the next guy is looking at a woman lustfully in his heart, they're both guilty. It's the motive of the heart that matters.
Right.
So although I never committed murder, thank you, God, against that pastor, I was having murderous thoughts in my heart. And so therefore I was guilty of a very, very dark crime in the kingdom of God, because it's the motive of the heart that we need to constantly be taking before the Lord. So in our worship, we consistently need to. So one person in your church, I imagine, needs to be like, you know what? When the song builds this time, I'm going to keep my hands down and I make sure my heart is lifted up. Right. Whereas you might be like, you know what? This time I'm going to lift my hands up just as an expression of worship because it's uncomfortable for me because we're all doing it. Right. I'm not saying that you need to do that, but you see what I'm saying?
Right. I'd be more likely to lift my feet in the air.
That's so good, dude.
Like, oh, what's that guy doing? He's laying on his back in the middle of the aisle. Oh, he's raising his feet. Because no one else is doing that. So he's trying to make sure that his worship of the Lord is unique and authentic. So, oh, man. All right, dude. Well, shoot.
Dude, this was so much fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure.
I love your heart in this, Ryan. It's really cool to hear how you're navigating these conversations.
Yeah, it's a blast.
You have a gift of authenticity and transparency while respecting people as they process what they're processing with your questions and your topics. So thank you.
Well, thank you. That's exactly what I'm going for. So I'm glad that you said that. Yeah, that's kind of my whole point, man.
Well done. Well done.
All right, man. Well, hey, as always, good to see you. And let me know, dude. I know sometimes you head to Santa Barbara. So if you ever do, we'll grab a meal or something, dude. Let me know. Stop off.
For sure. If I'm ever back in Santa Barbara, that will happen.
All right. I hope so.
All right, bro.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Right, bye.
Thank you so much for checking out another episode of this podcast. I really do appreciate it. Please share this episode and the podcast in general with everyone that you know, as word of mouth is really the only way that people will ever hear about it. For any feedback that you have for me, you can email it to whycan'twetalkaboutthat@proton.me. Thank you.